Yeah, this sounds sort of insane, Lomez, but the problem here is you're too close to like real parts. Like it sounds insane for me, a guy who has a podcast with sponsors on the internet, to talk to
Uh-huh.
another guy who has a podcast on the internet and be like, you're too close to the real economy. But like genuinely, I don't know how to explain this to you. You're too close to the real economy, and it's actually quite maddening. And I know a couple friends who had fake jobs and they really hated it. Like
Yeah.
really, really hated it. It makes you lose your sense of purpose and you feel like you're slowly going insane. There's this sense of anxiety all the time that you might randomly get fired because you understand that you don't actually provide anything. Like it's not like you're on a sales team and you sold whatever 12 cars this week. Like you
Yeah.
make presentations for people who read presentations and create other reports, and it's all like fake make work. And it's like fun for precisely like 2 months is my understanding. Like generally when a friend gets a fake job, they're kind of done now. There's not as many fake jobs now. But like generally when a friend got a fake job, they were like pretty happy about it for a month. Then the next month they were like, yeah, I guess this is okay. And then the month after that they were like, dude, I'm losing my fucking mind. Like I just go to work and pretend to work for 8 hours,
Yeah.
and like I'm looking at the clock every 2 minutes and I feel like I'm gonna lose my fucking mind.
I guess it is
But
just, yeah.
this is a good segue.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. We know
Yeah.
you as
Okay.
Lomez.
I
on
will. I'll
Twitter.
segue because I do have a real company, and actually, like, I know it's like partly ironic, but I am in the real economy, and I
But
think
tell
part
us,
of
tell us like what you did. We all know you
okay,
got doxxed. We'll talk
okay,
about
yeah,
that a little bit
yeah, yeah,
later.
yeah.
As this incredibly attractive,
Uh,
median, least attractive Trump supporter, least
uh-huh.
attractive anon poster on
That's right.
Twitter.com,
That's right.
the heartthrob that had like on the student forums, I think like young, beautiful 22-year-old college girls were like,
Yeah,
God, I hope I get Lomez this
yeah,
semester. He's so
yeah.
dreamy.
Um,
Anyways, tell us, how
okay.
did you end up on Twitter?
Here's the potted story. Yeah. So I'm an old millennial. I came of age, like I graduated from college in the early 2000s, and then I got a job in tech when you could just like be a white guy. My first job out of college was working at Google. And Google at the time would literally airdrop like these these little booklets onto college campuses, and you would fill them out, and they were full of like puzzles, little riddles. It's basically an IQ test, but it was also, are you creative and do you know your way around certain concepts? Um, and I like sent this little booklet back in, and it's an application for a job, and they just call me back, and I got like a remote job working for Google, and I traveled a bunch.
What year would this have been in?
This was 2006.
I think everyone who's listening to this is just going to start hating you, man.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
so sorry, but it's just
Yeah.
like, yeah, I did a little test and I got a remote job in the mail.
Remote job.
Google would drop lottery tickets on towns
Yes.
randomly, and then if you
Yes.
filled them out, they would pay you
Dude.
$220,000 as a
No, I
college
didn't get paid that much at the time. But
yeah, but it was
no, my
like
job,
$2006, man.
it was a remote
Dude, in
job where
2006, you could get a $5 hamburger, man.
it was even better. So I had the option to do an office versus remote thing, and I decided to do the remote thing. And it was at this period where there was still some part of the search algorithm that was human input. It's like a non-insignificant part of the weighting was human input. And I was just like the word cell on this team with a bunch of engineers, and they would throw a bunch of searches that they got, and the search engine algorithm on its own was having trouble deciphering what these searches meant and what users actually wanted. So we would go in and we would read through these searches, and we would try to
What's like a
figure out.
modal search that you would?
A lot of it was actually related to like porn sites, because these pornography sites were much better. The developers for the porn sites were way ahead of developers everywhere else on the web. And they were the first to figure out how to trick the algorithm. So you get like, okay, here's like a canonical example. This was when they were starting with also location specific search, for example. And someone would search like Pamela Anderson, PETA. Okay. And if let's say you're a user in Seattle and you do this and it's April, 18th or something, 2006, and there's going to be a PETA meeting in Seattle, some like big event, and on like April 20th, and like a bunch of people are searching for like, Pamela Anderson PETA in Google, but all of the top search results are like weird, like animal porn featuring like, actresses who like Japanese porn and whatever, or like Pamela Anderson, Tommy Lee videos. And so people doing this search in Seattle would have to go, like, we're frequently going to pages like 3, 4, 5 to finally land on a thing they wanted. Okay, so they would go to us and try to figure out why this is happening. Okay, something like that. Or a long string of like numbers that was like a serial number to, some auto part or something. But the only place on the web where you would find this is in like a PDF. And the search engine couldn't quite figure out how to match like the serial number to the
You
PDF.
couldn't like OCR it, so it was just
Exactly.
like,
Yeah, exactly. So we would go in and try to figure out, okay, what does this long string of numbers relate to? And then find where the source is with the PDF, the corresponding PDF, and then tell the engineering part of the team. And then they would go in and tinker with the weights. Okay.
I'm just imagining a college graduate listening to this podcast and being like, okay, so Lomez's job, he got airdropped a lottery ticket to work remote in 2006 at Google, and his job was to look at Japanese porn on the internet.
Yeah.
You're doing like artisanal Google search, which is also just such a funny, it's like premium Lomez artisanal.
You were the Nikita beer of porn. You were like Nikita beer is to bots what you were to porn, right? Like you were trying to get rid of it all. And like I know that what you're saying is totally true about the porn sites being like totally up to date in terms of like porn and gambling sites are god tier in terms of like anything distribution wise, right? Like there was someone that I know that wanted to start an online casino, and I was just like, I don't think you understand. Like, you have the capital to do this, but you do not really have like the balls to do this. You're actually stepping on like mob territory here. And if you like enter into this area, like there's people that are going to try and kill you. Like, as an example, the way that casinos and like online gambling sites do marketing is like they hack telecom agencies and then cold call the customer lists with gambling ads, right? Like, this is not something that you're willing to engage in, but that's like table stakes. Like, you need to be willing to hack telecom companies. You're just trying to make money on the internet. Like, you're not going to do this.
You're not that guy. Okay.
You are not that guy. And if you became that guy, like we would have to stop hanging out because you're going to get killed now.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So you're
I mean, these people were like super clever, and it was, okay, but this is the whole lesson here. Like, it sounds great on paper, and it was really cool because it gave me the opportunity to travel. So I spent that period of my life traveling around the world, and I would go to like, I'd be in like Turkey, and I'd like log into the internet, like go to some internet cafe and log 4 hours of work. I'd have to be careful where I was because certain places wouldn't allow me access to the websites I had to visit to like do some of the work. But I basically had the freedom to just like travel around, do whatever I want. And then I get back. Okay, there's all sorts of other stuff that happens here, but I'm going to give you like the short version. I don't know. I didn't want to do tech for the rest of my life. I don't know. It was probably a mistake in hindsight. Okay. I think had I just kept that job and gone to work at an office,
it could have been you filming those videos that
Mountain
you now
View,
get
man.
FOMO over missing out on that experience.
God. Sometimes I regret not doing it, but I'm a plan truster. So I trust the plan. And I decided I want to go back I had this romantic idea about being like an English professor. And so I started applying I was in a weird personal relationship at the time and needed to get out of that. So I applied to grad school programs, get into grad school, do that whole thing. And then it was just like this kind of unthinking one foot after the other thing where you finish grad school and then it's like, all right, well, now it's like peak recession, Obama era recession. I guess I'll just teach. I guess, I got a gig teaching at UC Irvine. And then that was just good enough in terms of the freedom it gave me to do the things I wanted. Plus, I actually like teaching. It was like fine. I like being on campus, and it's a good life. It's a good life. The pay was fine. I met my wife there. We started having a family, and I couldn't find my way out of it. But the politics were becoming unbearable around like 2014. That's when I started, like, my ears started to perk up, and I was thinking, oh man, things are starting to happen here that are getting really uncomfortable. And I have to make a decision about whether or not I can just eat this for the rest of my life.
Was there anything ridiculous that you remember, like specifically?
Yeah, I mean, it was just like a combination of things happening. It really was basically post Trayvon Martin through the Trump presidency, where everything got really weird. I pinpoint 2014 as the tipping point. There were a couple of things happened. There was the Bataclan, or no, the Charlie Hebdo shooting. Do you guys remember this? Charlie Hebdo's this controversial magazine in France, and they just make fun of everyone. And they did a cover with Mohammed on the cover, I think holding like a bomb. Okay. And these jihadists storm into the Charlie Hebdo office and like kill the cartoonists and the chief editor and so on. It was like this horrible, tragic thing. And if you were like a kind of like liberal, by which I mean this broad center spectrum, left to right, the obvious thing to say is like, this is a horrible tragedy that has no place anywhere in the Western world. And we're going to support free speech, period. And that's the end of it. And like, but what happened instead was, PEN America, which is ostensibly like the free speech institution, published this letter by a guy named Teju Cole, who was one of these sort of up and coming writers. You know, he'd been published in the New Yorker and elsewhere. And he wrote what amounts to this now very familiar kind of apologetics, which was, yes, it's bad to wantonly murder someone who draws a cartoon that you don't like. However, this is to be expected when you don't properly respect and defer to the preferences of these beleaguered minority groups in your society. And so, yes, you know, we don't like violence, okay? But the white sort of colonialist state and the people who represent the power of the white colonialist state ought to be mindful of the decades and centuries, really, of oppression of brown bodies. And this is the natural and expected outcome. Okay, you're going to have to go read it to get like the verbatim argument he made, but that was essentially it. And what I thought the response would be from like fellow English professors, okay, who talk about nothing but free speech, was not to, wag their finger at PEN America. It was to say, he's got a point. He's got a point. And I'm like, all right, I don't know how much longer I can be here. This is just, and that's when I got online. And it became very important to me to start like saying bad words online just to say them. And I mean that, like, I know now that seems very sophomoric to like go online and just like write slurs, okay, for your group of friends online. But at the time, and I will defend it to this day, it was very important to do this. To just like, say these words out loud.
It sounds like immature and childish or whatever now, because like we kind of like won the thing.
Yes.
But like back in the day, bro, it's like all the people who are like, oh, this isn't like a meaningful form of protest. It's like they wouldn't be caught dead doing these things, right? Like there are
and those people were just going to let this keep going, by the way. This is the thing I say about like all these, responsible conservatives, and many of whom have come around and like embraced some of this spirit of antagonism that was coming out of the early online right. Had they just gotten their way, they wouldn't have done anything. They were cowed. They were totally cowed by this new sort of prevailing set of norms where you don't say anything and you don't push back. And they really did count on, I don't want to give like us too much credit, okay? But there was some spirit, there was something happening online at the time that allowed them, gave them the space to resist like the worst aspects of this. And it really didn't come to a head until 2020. So it took a long time. It took a half a decade for this really to start to percolate into like mainstream consciousness. And for people like my co-host, Chris Rufo, who I love, to get a platform where he could really push back on this stuff like in a mainstream and public way. But I really do believe none of that would have been possible had there not been this like uprising of basically what amounts to millennial age people getting online. And yeah, I mean, basically just
It's Gamergate. Rufo
yelling
owes
slurs. Okay,
his
Gamergate.
whole
Yeah,
career
sorry.
to gamers.
Yeah, yeah,
He
gamers.
should thank gamers. He should do like a land acknowledgement. We owe this digital space
Yes.
on the internet to gamers.
Okay, is that too self-serving? I ask myself sometimes, is that narrative too self-serving?
No, I think it's actually true.
I
unironically
think the
just
problem
it's
is that
super
it's
true.
like what is too self-serving here, right? It's like because like somebody won, right? Like clearly the Overton got pulled in a direction. Somebody won it. So somebody must be attributed with the credit for it. And like we can argue over who that is. Everybody wants to say that it's like them or their guy or whatever. But like it must have been someone, right?
I guess the self-serving part is going online and like, you know, posting or something is an act of political courage. Like, you know, I do actually believe that it was in some sense an act of political courage at the time it was happening and needed to happen. But then there's a part of me that looks back and goes, yeah, maybe, but like also it's like not that important, or I'm like it's overstating not just like that particular act, but the influence of this online like moment that we were all part of.
So I think you could make an almost direct correlation between like various words and like a tier list of like the beliefs of like people in public, right? Like there was a specific point where you became allowed now to say gay and right? And that's like that point correlated with like liberal beliefs getting scaled back to a given point. And it wasn't just liberal beliefs around free speech. It was liberal beliefs around everything, right? Like socialism, like immigration, all of these things lost enough that you now unlocked saying in public.
Yeah.
And I think it just goes both ways. Like you can win either on the policy or you can just say retard enough and force them to listen. But like I assume that the two are tied at the hip.
I think the way I would look at it is like if you look at the left and the way the left has like mimetic shock troops, if you will.
Yeah.
It works exactly the same way. And so it seems pretty clear that the answer is yes, right? Like the way the left worked in the 80s and 90s was like saying like, oh, reparations need to happen. And then effectively by the time of 2000 and the aughts rolled around, you had effectively reparations, right? Like it wasn't called as such, right? But you had DEI, you had this, that, the other. And I think if you look at like Gamergate as the shock troops of the right of like, yeah, I should be able to say gay as a joke.
Yeah.
And, is that a little immature? Yeah, maybe. But like, is that also ultimately okay? Yeah, that is ultimately okay. And that's what leads to, whatever, the kid who famously smirked at like the random Native American in Washington, D.C. with a Trump hat on.
Yeah.
And then like was found not guilty of like not a hate crime to smirk at a guy and just stand your ground,
Yeah.
So is it the most mature thing to call people gay on the internet? No, but it probably is like a uniquely American act of, I'm allowed to do this, right? It's the free speech meme, right? It's like a very real version of the free speech meme.
I think we're still in this period too, where that moment from like, let's just call it 2014 to like 2024, broadly speaking, that moment is still being like written, like what that consisted of.
I don't think it's over. Whenever people say woke is over, I think that's like the most midwit take ever.
It's totally not. It's totally not. It's everywhere actually, if you know where to look for it. But
my take with woke is that it's like it's kind of like religious sects, where as it gets smaller and smaller, it actually gets more intense.
Yeah.
Like
everything
the places
is like
where
this,
it
though, right?
still exists.
Like I mean, look at the dissident right.
Yeah.
Like the dissident right, when it was like extremely hard to be a right winger,
Yeah.
and you look at like the things that the dissident right is saying on Twitter, it's just like, holy shit, that's fucking blowing my socks off, bro. And now we're out here like, yeah, like fucking Vance is like an absolute giga chad, bro. Like this is crazy.
Yeah, that's just becoming like that's an interesting point where we've like I've become softer. I'm not speaking for anyone else here, but my like political rhetorical approach to these broader cultural questions has become far more muted than it was like in 2015. Like I was ready to strap on the like rhetorical suicide vest and just go
Yeah.
like walk
Like
into
we were out here in the trenches now, but
Yeah.
this is something that I might just be like an annoying contrarian, and maybe this is only
Yeah.
a thing that matters for me, but maybe this matters for you too here. Part of it for me is that you see guys that are like, you're like, that's like the dumbest guy that I know in my entire life, and he's like saying exactly what you believed like 3 years ago, like super super strongly with like zero nuance,
I
and you're
know.
like, I feel like I kind of want to like distance myself from it in somehow, right? Like,
Yeah.
and
Like
a
you're
lot of the
not
time it's
allowed to like
toning it
this
down.
cool band that I first started listening to when they were like underground
Yes.
and before they
Yes.
had an MTV music videos. And now that like the normies
And
have
you don't
it,
really get it. You
yeah,
don't
you
really
don't
get
get
it.
it. You don't get it.
Like,
And now I think the band is actually cringe. So you're wrong. Actually, the band is cringe now. I'm on to liking that new shit. I think there's definitely something like that where it's this aesthetic thing where I don't, but also no, I'm gonna push back against that a little bit because politics is different from culture in the sense that culture is about like the interesting aesthetic. Politics is just about winning. Politics is just about like
You
seeding
would
your
think so,
ideas and
wouldn't
making them
you?
mainstream.
I think politics is like sports ball for a lot of people. Man.
Yeah.
It's like, did my win? Like, I think that's actually the big problem is that to a lot of people, like, politics is not about anything besides like owning the libs
Yeah.
or whatever. And that's kind of one of the big problems with like just democracy, like liberal democracy as a whole. Most people are not really engaged in the political process in any meaningful.
Yeah.
Like most people don't take like voting seriously or the political.
okay,
But okay,
yeah.
so you're getting radicalized online. You're getting radicalized at Irvine.
Yeah.
You're teaching classes. You're a
Yeah.
heartthrob. All these girls are writing about you on forums. Giga Chad.
Yeah.
You meet your wife. We won't ask whatever that means. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Beautiful.
And then you start posting online. Is this under Lomez at the time, or
No, I had
what are you?
I was Mr. Lomez for a while. I was I mean, I've been posting since I've been writing like on forums since 2007, 8, you know, like for a long time. Basically since I was like once I got out of college, I started reading people like Sailor and then like Chateau Artiste and you know,
I was
Royce
gonna
and all
ask,
those
yeah.
guys. And then you know, Nick Land, Xeno Systems, and UR, so Yarvin, and View from the Right, you know, Larry Oster and VDare. Okay, I was like reading all these sites and of like
VDare, that
more and
brings
less
me back.
interest, but I was also reading like Slate and like you know, I was
BuzzFeed.
yeah, well, like Gawker, you know, I'd like log in and read like what was the Gawker sports? I forget at this point, or like something awful. Okay, I'm like, you know, I'm just exploring all of the horizons here. And yeah, then I started posting on Twitter in like 2014. And that's where I found
Was that like literary posting? Was it just gamer words left and right?
No, it's even worse. I got online because I was posting about sports.
Oh my god, you're just a soy jack, man.
Dude.
you just are a soy jack.
The Giants were in the World Series, and I was like, oh, this is a cool way to like follow the World Series. I should start an account online,
So
and I can
funny.
like post after every like at bat. You know, you can have this like ongoing
Dude,
chat.
I can live blog the game, bro.
Yeah,
this is
dude.
crazy.
Well,
Oh my god.
okay,
that's
you want
so
deep
funny.
Lomez lore?
No, but I do this
Deep
too.
Lomez
I do
lore.
this
Hold
too.
on. Deep Lomez.
Okay. Oh God, people are gonna find this. I hope they don't. I had a blog. I had a sports blog at one point, and I was like, I got interviewed on ESPN radio at one point. I had this like sports blog that I would write on, and under a different pseudonym. And so yeah, I was like really into sports and like sports betting. And I went on Twitter to get into sports betting, to like talk about sports betting.
Do you
I was
think
a normie, man.
you would have used
Still am.
prediction markets a lot? Would you have been like on Polymarket.com
Yeah.
discussing your latest 17-way parlay?
So this is just when live sports betting came into focus, and the only place you could do this at the time, there was a couple of sites. There was a Canadian site that you could do this on, but the casino M, which was off the strip in Vegas, they had the first dynamic sports book where you showed up and like you could watch the game and do bets. And so I would fly out to Vegas a couple of times a month, and I would just be there, you know, for a while and just do live betting there. So you couldn't do this as much online at the time. It was just too difficult.
And then when did you start like literature posting? Because then over time, your online presence has become like you used to do the short stories competitions and whatever.
Yeah.
When did it become more explicitly political and then
2020, 21, COVID era. So my first account got banned, and then I came back, and I was like, it was like,
what did you get banned for? Do you remember?
I don't remember. I honestly don't remember.
If you
but
just I had started
call the
politics. Other team gamer words, this never would have happened.
You know, I was an early Trump supporter, so I was posting like I think I mentioned this maybe to you guys. I don't know if it was off air or not, but during the run up to the 2016 election, you know, I was in this like MIT Media Lab study, and I was posting. I wasn't like an alt-right guy per se, but
were you a big account at the time?
Big account at the time was like you had 1,500 followers. So I had over 1,000 followers. You know, I had like, I don't know, 1,500 to 2,000 followers, you know, which felt really big. That felt like a big account at the time. Were you guys online during during Gamergate and like during that period? Yeah.
Dude, I was on Tumblr during Gamergate. I had 2 accounts.
Lucas was behind enemy lines.
It. Yeah, I was very much so both sides. So I used
Lucas
Tumblr.
was doing agitprop, by the way. He was like literally just agitating.
Yes.
Well, it wasn't like towards any specific goal. It was mostly just because like I realized that like I had previously been on like just, you know, Facebook, like normal. I swear to people did actually use Facebook back in the day. Like young people actually did use Facebook. And I eventually realized, like, I appear to not really care about any of this, but I'm just doing like an AI-based like machine learning of whatever like the talking point is on the timeline today, and I'm just like optimizing for likes.
Yeah.
So then it was like, I wonder what happens if I just do that with like a less normal sphere of people, right? And like Tumblr was the thing. So I was very much so like a sensitive young man during this period, meaning that I was using Tumblr to have sex with a lot of women.
Yeah.
Because it was just the easiest thing that you could do, I think, back then.
Absolutely.
And so I just already had
Tumblr during Gamergate too.
It was good.
Yeah.
And this we didn't even really have terms for whatever the right wing was. We just called them anti-feminists.
Yeah.
So like
yeah.
It's like the thing where you name yourself by just saying the opposite of whatever the team you're fighting against is, and it always backlashes because now you've inherently tied your identity to this other thing that can change or morph or do whatever other rhetorical thing they want to. And so like the line back then was like, oh, you're like against feminism? Like, but how feminism is just equality between men and women. And then eventually it took 10 years for men to realize that that's not actually what feminism means, even if that's what every woman says.
Yeah, I think it's funny you mentioned that the labeling and the identity part of it, because at the time, I like the alt-right was a thing, but it wasn't how people imagine it now. It was a very different kind of thing. It was this very small, obscure thing that was into like archaeofuturism and like weird new right French and European politics. It wasn't just like shit posting about Trump. That was a different transition.
That was like a 2015, maybe 2014 era thing.
Even a little later. It was just an election thing where, you know what happened? It was when Breitbart, when Bannon, I think it was either Milo or like called Breitbart like the magazine of the alt-right. And then, and it was a misnomer because what he was actually talking about was like Paul Joseph Watson and like Molyneux and Jack Posobiec and like Cernovich and these like what was then the alt, that pissed off the actual alt-right, and they started calling all those guys alt-light. And
oh, dude, I forgot about
yeah,
this.
there was like a huge war over who's actually alt-right. And because all the alt-right guys were like, politics is gay. It's all about meta politics and like archaeofuturism, and we're gonna do this like new right thing. But anyway, okay, that's like a whole other conversation.
And then alt-right went from being like a term that everyone was trying to identify with to like Charlottesville happened, and now everyone's like, okay, they've
It happened before Charlottesville. So
Really?
the timeline was after the election. Do you remember Hailgate? Like Richard Spencer
yeah.
Doing Hailgate at right after the election. And then the alt-right, okay, the first, the deplorable. Okay, do you remember the deplorable? This was
I
like
remember the
all
deplorable
alt-right
very,
guys
very
heard of it.
vaguely.
And it was shortly after Hailgate, and I can't remember if it was Cerno or one of these guys is like, no Nazis allowed, you know, like basically Richard Spencer in your crew, you're not allowed here. And there was this big schism. And then what Charlottesville was reuniting the right. So the first schism was that, and then like Spencer got really upset about Trump's initial bombing of Syria, and staged a protest in DC when Trump, and that was like the big like it's very similar. It's everything old is new again. It's exactly what's happening now.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah, I know you're saying this, and I'm like, wait a second, like, like, what is he saying right now? Like, I bet you it's like,
and so all the alt-right hardliners are like, Trump is a he's doing this like on behalf of Israel. He's not our guy. And there was this like schism, and then Unite the Right, you know, Charlottesville was an attempt to like sort of patch this all back together. Okay, that's like a separate storyline.
I just don't remember anyone being scared to identify with alt-right as a label until after Charlottesville. Like,
it was after Charlotte. Yeah, I think probably more in like a mainstream sense, it was after Charlottesville. But I remember people starting to sneak away from that. Like maybe I was just like too embedded in it. I saw it maybe a little bit differently, but I remember there were like various flame wars online where people were like, no, like alt-right is this totally separate thing. Because Spencer became then, and remember, like all the alt-right became sort of co-synonymous with Richard Spencer, like around the time of Hailgate.
They did a really good job of like blowing the thing up by associating it with this guy who like they were like, we just have to punch him, he's a dork. Right.
Yeah.
Like they very successfully defanged the entire energy of the thing by just tying it to him.
Yep. But it was, that's like an interesting period that I've actually, well, Scott Greer, we have a great book coming out. I'm going to shill for a second. Scott Greer wrote a book called White Pill that's coming out in June. That's now pre-order at Passage.press, that covers like this period. And Scott Greer was like in it. So he lays out like a lot of this timeline and lore. It's very interesting because there's a lot of parallels to what's going on now. But I was going to say what happened to me, because when you were in like Tumblr, my first kind of awareness of all this was the use of the term social justice warrior that all these leftists started applying to themselves. And suddenly then you had like an outline of a enemy, like a political enemy that came into focus, where before that term, they were just like these, you know, you had these like crazy progressives, but the dividing line was like unclear. It didn't clarify until you had this terminology. And that was a huge mistake, I think, that they made, was using for their own sake, like self-identifying as social justice warriors. And that's what then leads into Gamergate, in my memory, and cuts the sort of battle lines. I don't know if, that may be wrong. There may have been other things that happened.
I think it was more complicated, and there was like specific stuff. There was this Zoe girl who was like doing the video game.
Oh yeah, the Zoe Quinn like Aragaji thing.
That
those
was
were
like the Franz Ferdinand of Gamergate, if you will.
Oh yeah.
I think you're right though, that I think naming things is very, very powerful. And there's this way in which that like calling yourself a social justice warrior was like very ridiculous.
It was too goofy. It was way
it
too
was just
goofy.
so ridiculously insane.
I very specifically remember all of these people. Like, these were people that you could show to like adults, like normal adults in your life, like teachers, parents, etc. And they'd be like, "Oh, like, don't worry, sweetie, that's just crazy retards on the internet. Like, that's
Yeah.
not real life, right?" And then like you blink, and like 5 years later, all the people who said that to you are now like identifying with these crazy retards on the internet, right? They're like, "Don't worry, it's not real. Like, nobody is going to do like DEI. That's crazy." And then you talk to them again, and they're like, "Yeah, so we've enacted full DEI among
Yeah.
our entire company, and it's 100% like black women now." And you're like,
Yeah.
"What?"
And it's not a big deal. This was like what the like Obama libs did, the serious responsible ones like Matt Iglesias and Ezra Klein and so on. It was, no, this is not real. Yeah, they're saying some crazy stuff, but it's siloed in these, critical theory departments and college campuses and these like weird internet places like Tumblr. This can't ever leak out into the institutions. And by the time you get to like 2018, they're just, trying to pretend as if this is all normal. This is always going to happen. And that to be a good, upright, sort of morally respectable person, you just needed to go along with it. And they only then changed
basically what
their
they're saying
mind.
is like the most combative opinion you're allowed to have is, I'm not fully on board, but I guess this is like just sanity and like just be a good guy, man.
Just be a decent
like
freaking
just be a
person,
decent
man.
human being was the big aim, right?
Yeah.
And the funniest thing about these people is that like 10, 15 years later, these guys, I mean, from like 2020 to 2022, basically these people attacked the Matthew Iglesias and like the Noah Smiths of the world, and these guys will still carry water for them, which is so insane. And it's, I mean, I say carry water very literally because the way I think about this a lot of the time is there's like some guy who's like setting fire to like the social contract.
Yeah.
And then Matthew Iglesias is like, I don't really agree with this, but like, I guess you just have to let people do what they got to do, man.
Yeah.
And then you walk over and you're like, dude, you're fucking crazy. Why are you setting the house on fire?
Yeah.
And then Matt Iglesias is like, whoa, you just said fucking, man. Like, I wasn't fully on board with him.
Yeah.
But now, because you said fucking, like, I guess I got to set the house on fire, too. Like, now I have no choice. You forced my hand.
Yeah.
Now I have to vote for, like, Kamala Harris,
Well,
there's just no way now.
I think partly this is why they became so hysterical about Donald Trump, because in order for that narrative to cohere, they needed to do this kind of like whataboutism. So it's like, yes, all these people who are ostensible or who are my like coalition partners are setting fire to the social contract. But what about Trump? Okay, because in order for them to like continue on in this coalition, they need to point to some greater evil elsewhere. So Trump became this convenient vessel for them to displace all of these frustrations and disagreements they have with their own coalition onto the sort of political other. And they would do this like not just with Trump, but you would see stuff like this with like Brett Kavanaugh. Okay, it's like, yeah, I mean, look, the people on our side are totally insane and stupid, and they're going to like demolition America as we know it. But we have to tolerate that because what if Brett Kavanaugh, is appointed a Supreme Court judge?
Yeah, I think this is like a big thing, which is super funny because Eric Swalwell was one of the big guys. I don't know if you saw some of the clips, but he was one of the guys who was like saying, yeah, like Brett Kavanaugh is either the unluckiest human being ever or he did it because like 3 women came out and miraculously remembered some story from 17 years ago. And lo and behold, man.
Just happened to be coming out now that he's,
Dude,
up for Supreme
justice
Court
for Eric Swalwell, honestly, man. What did he do? What did he do that was so bad?
Be horny. Be
he
horny
was a
online.
horny straight male. Dude, that was my big thing. Who was this guy? Harry Sasson? Dude, justice for Harry Sasson, bro. What did he do? He like Snapchatted a couple hoes.
Wait, is that like the Gen Z lib guy?
Yeah.
He's doing what Lucas did on Tumblr back in 2013. He's like behind enemy lines, just being horny.
It's so much worse to do it now, though, because like back in the day, you just had to be like, Oh yeah, like I read that book, and it's like you didn't read the book, you read the Wikipedia plot synopsis for
Yeah.
whatever the Dworkin book is, right?
Yeah.
But like they didn't read it either, right?
No.
So it didn't fucking matter. Now it's like in order to convince them successfully, because like the strategy has been so known for so long, you have to have like a 50 million follower TikTok account where every day you produce like 7 hours of like liberal propaganda,
Yeah.
and then they're like, he still could be one of those like right wingers that's pretending to be a lefty to have sex with me. So I don't know. I don't know. Harry might be faking me out here. And then
They're also
finally,
just
after like 7 years, you have sex.
they're not as pretty, man. Like the juice is just not worth the squeeze. Like it look, in 2012, like Tumblr girls, these were like pretty girls, like many of them, okay? Not all of them, but many of them. I don't think the batting average is quite the same if you're hanging out in these like leftist spaces now. So I do wonder about like the risk reward there, whether that's like actually a useful strategy. I know I'm not in the game anymore, so I can't say for certain, but
Dude, it's like you're working 1,000 times harder for a prize that is like 1% as
yeah,
satisfying, right? Like it's
yeah,
like unironically a million times worse of a deal than it was back in the day. And because so many people are doing it now too, like they just have to try it so much harder. Back in the day, there's like 6 guys on your campus pretending to know who the fuck Dworkin is,
yeah,
right?
right,
6 guys. So it's
yeah,
so easy, right? You go into your women's studies 101 class, you're like the only guy there. That maybe there's another guy in there, right? But this
yeah.
guy certainly is not like he's not usually a winner. He's not really someone you have to super compete with.
So Lucas, this is the cuttlefish strategy. Are you aware of like cuttlefish? You know what cuttlefish are?
I know what cuttlefish are. I
They're like
know
these
I know that
squid
they're one of the
creatures.
smartest fish, and they
Yeah, they're
change
super
colors.
smart and they can change their body type. They have this like incredibly interesting sort of like morphology. Like they can disguise themselves in all sorts of ways. And the sort of beta men can have a strategy where they pretend essentially to be female and they go into these female spaces and then like when the females are like least expecting it, they like put their like male parts back on and they just like aggressively the females. And there's this kind of guy who I remember from grad school who would do this, and
It's
he
just
would
the male
act.
feminist. This
Yeah,
is
he
like
would
the
this is just
canonical.
like it's exactly that archetype, like the male feminist creep. And women became like very aware of this type. So if you ask women, they're like, now their guard is up because they've become
Now
like
they know. The meta
get
now is I
acclimated to the
want a
guy
guy
who's like
who is a
talking in these
Republican in
feminist
every
terms.
sense,
Yes.
except like I want a guy who drives a pickup truck.
Yeah.
He's big. He has a porn stash. Have you noticed that like having a porn stash is now like a libtard thing? By the
Yes.
way, like
Yes.
very weird
dude,
inversion.
this is why I got rid of it. Like the
You
entire
can't
time
have it anymore. You're like libbed out now.
No, so the
Anyways,
reason that I grew it in the first place was because it was a gay thing, right?
Uh-huh.
And then it became liberal, so I had to shave it off, right? Because
Uh-huh.
like as a gay thing, it's like a power move, right? Like
Right.
I was living in Asia with a mustache, right? Like Asian women all fucking hate facial hair. I'm coming into their home and I'm saying like I'm not like the other white guys, right? Like I'm here with my Latina girlfriend, like fuck
Uh-huh.
you people.
Uh-huh.
And then I came
Uh-huh.
yeah.
back to the US and I'm just like, dude, everybody who has a stash now is just like a decrepit, overweight liberal. Like this is no longer a power fuck move of outward homosexuality. It's like just
Well, Lucas, were
actually gay.
you like adopting these kinds of feminist guy mannerisms and telling them about like
No,
female
so
empowerment and so on?
this back in the day, you truly had to do nothing, right?
Yeah,
Like you had to say like, "Oh yeah, dude, like I love that book. She's so smart, man." Done.
yeah,
Like that's it, right? And it was the same thing with all of the other shit, right? Like now in order to like become the cuttlefish, right? In order to
uh-huh,
get into the girls chat, you basically have to be like gender fluid or gender queer or just like outright trans. And this is all it all depends on how attractive you are, right? So
right,
if you're very attractive, you can get in with less work, but if you're
right,
busted, you fully have to cut your dick off before the women will say, okay, he's transed hard enough. I trust him. But back
yeah.
in the day, it's like, oh, yeah, like I'm bi, bro. Like,
Uh-huh.
and then like it just doesn't matter. Like you just do exactly
Yeah.
what it's like lesbians, right? Like lesbians would just do like they're just normal girls. They've only ever dated guys, but they're like, oh yeah, like I'm a lesbian, like I'm bisexual. And their dad's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Right. And you'll be sitting like at dinner with their parents, and their dad will be like she says that she's a lesbian, and their dad's like, but you're fucking sitting here with Lucas, like he's
Yeah.
your boyfriend. How can you be a lesbian if you're
Yeah.
dating a man? That's fucked up. That's and
Yeah.
then she's like, no, your sexuality is not determined by your blood. And you just say the words, and then it's good, and you move on, right?
This is
Kids now,
reminding me of the BAP tweet about like power drills, trampled by
yes,
donkeys. But there's like some corollary to that, where it's like to get like a girlfriend, you have to like watch like an Eric Romer French movie to like know something about Andrea Dworkin, to then like cutting your dick off now to, like, just talk to a girl.
Yeah, but no, the new meta is like very much they want the Republican coded boyfriend, like all Republican packaging. They want the pickup truck. They want to pay for dinner. They want to like pick her up. They also want like increasingly like violent also in this very performative way. But then it's like they want this guy who like speaks with a southern twang, works on a construction site, and has a pickup truck to also be like, hell yeah. Like it's the truck guy that was in those like Biden Kamala commercials. It's like yeah. Oh man. And that's why
I'm like,
I
I'm
think
a
we need to
man
send
enough.
infinite money to Nigeria for state-sponsored abortions.
Yeah, I'm like secure enough in my manhood to like
I'm secure
tuck
enough
it
in
between my legs and
manhood.
put on a wig at night, Yeah.
This is my bit now at this point. Like whenever any of these girls are like, "Oh, if you were secure enough in your blah," I just say like, "Yeah." Like I am.
That's what I
am.
say.
No. I do the opposite. I say like, no, totally. I'm totally secure enough in my masculinity that I would have no problem with you like cheating on me with 60 other guys. I'm gay though, by the way, right? Like, it's like only gay guys are secure enough. All the straight guys are fucked up. They want to oppress you, right? Not like the gays.
I want to give you AIDS.
No, but the thing is, Lomez, and we do have to educate you on this clearly because of your looks maxing treat. You don't understand that like the gender war has escalated.
Yeah,
and the new thing now is we just redeploy. It's like the drone warfare in Russia, Ukraine. Okay, we're redeploying their lies against them. Okay, when like the new thing now is we go like, oh, you're so insecure. I just have like my female best friend who like I just cuddle with and do sleepovers.
She's like a sister to me. Holy, that line goes so hard.
That is good. It goes
so
funny.
hard, man.
Damn,
we're like, dude, and I'm telling you, this is the thing. Okay, I genuinely like Lucas will be the first to tell you. I just don't hate women, man. Like I just don't. I just don't. But here's the thing.
I love women,
but they're just not that good at doing gender war. The thing is, they were using. Like, it's like when Iran uses, like, chemical warfare, and then America's, like, fighting with one arm tucked behind your, like, tied behind your back. It's like women were using, like, advanced fucking gender warfare tactics, and we were just trying to be like, I'm sure there's some peaceful solution we could arrive at here. But that's done. That's, like, over with now. So now you have men being like, I'm too anxious. I don't think I can see you this Sunday. Like, I'm just getting a little anxious. I need like to focus on myself.
Yeah.
And like it's obviously like I just fucking hate you. You're like my bitch girlfriend and I'm like cheating on you. But because you're using the magic word anxious, they're not allowed to say anything to you.
I have to see my therapist. Yeah.
Yes.
She's gonna.
It's it's not you. It's just me. I guess I just want to keep going clubbing and like seeing women that are 7 years younger than you.
And
it's not you.
They don't actually have a defense against this, right? Because like in order to actually call this out for like the manipulation that it is, you have to be direct. And they can't do that, right? It's like you have to directly confront someone and say like, I know that you're fucking lying to me, right? And it's like, even if they're totally tilted out, they're super unlikely to do this. And like, also, if they admit that this is a lie, they admit that this like, oh, I'm so sad, I can't do it because I'm so sad strategy is a lie. Now they have no strategies left. Zero. Like that's their one strategy, right? So it's like this weird checkmate where they were only winning because men were not shameless enough to pretend to be girls. But now men have no shame and they're all pretending to be girls and nobody's reproducing ever again.
I don't know how well developed this all is for you guys, but like this is a massive like qualitative leap in the evolution of like game. And have you guys like written out like because again like this goes back. Like, I used to read like Royce, Chateau Hartiste. For people who are too young to know what that is, this was like in the early days of game, and Chateau Hartiste, in a very like funny way, was trying to explain how to like nag women. And you go to the club and you have to like touch them in a certain way, and you tell them how ugly they are, but in like a subtle and kind of tasteful way that stimulates their need for validation and so on. And this is how you attract women. But it was all like operating under this pre-woke premise. Okay, it was all operating.
No, the entire game now is basically we do all the things that women do, and all you have to do to like understand this is just like look at clavicular, and there's more. He's not like on the bleeding edge of it, but like it's pretty good, right? Like men are doing makeup, not focused about having a job, just focused on like being hot, maxing your social media and your like presence and status. It's literally just everything that girls have used, right? Because the whole point is like, the way the bargain was like in the 1960s, when it's like the meme of like the 1960s housewife who's like coked out on Valium or whatever, is like, okay, the men work, the women make the house, we specialize in different things. This is what I bring to the table. This is what you bring. Okay, great. Now it's like the women work. Today there was this hilarious post,
dude.
Where
we have
like
to
some libertarian girl is complaining that like less men are employed now than women. Dude, I think it's based. I think what we have to do is you just outflank them. You go like, I support girl bosses. That's why I'm a stay-at-home boyfriend. And my girl works like 2 full-time jobs at the Amazon shipping factory to support me while I play video games and podcasts.
I need a me day to like sit around and play like Borderlands and eat ice cream all day.
My wife is about to have a baby. Like I need 3 months of paternity leave.
Yeah. Damn, dude.
I'm just sick and tired of doing all this emotional labor. I understand you're having a child.
Look, man, we're entering the post-scarcity world, and I think like this is where it's going. We're turning into this is like African society. Okay,
Lomez is such like an old boomer that you're basically. It feels like I'm in like explaining like drone warfare to like a Vietnam vet or something.
No, it's exactly what it is.
Like, dude, all I know is like point the end with the hole towards the enemy, bro. Like,
I mean, it comes back to like why did people get jobs in the first place, right? Like people did not, and they have not for the last I don't know how many decades, get jobs to fulfill themselves, right? Like the corporate jobs are not really fulfilling people. It seems like the more bureaucracy we layered on top of everything, the less we've become attached to the meaning of whatever anyone is doing. They don't really feel fulfilled by it. So it's like obviously just for money, right? And it's like, well, why do you need money? And you have a guy sitting there who's like, if I don't have a wife and I don't have a family, like I can welfare's like 4 times more money than I fucking
way
need.
More.
Like
yeah,
I can just sit in my apartment all day long doing nothing, right? Like video games, masturbating, marijuana, like all of that stuff. And I'll have plenty of money to spare, bro. Like so when you take women out of the equation, like why do men get jobs?
I am such a boomer because I hear that and I'm like, that's awful. I can't like bring myself around to the idea of giving yourself over to just the indulgences of these like vice. And by the way, even because like I can even imagine a situation where whatever the negative outcomes for doing this are, like you like jerk off too much or you like smoke too much weed. Let's even imagine a scenario where there are like drugs to counteract the like negative effects of that. So you still feel like healthy and motivated and like your brain's still like functioning properly. I still, because I do have boomer brain, I like just can't I can't wrap my head around why you would
I mean,
want
I
that.
think it's obviously like a horrifying proposition that everyone just like drops out of society and does
Yeah.
nothing. But like it's just the basic meme of like we had a social contract,
Yeah.
right? Like people were promised a thing, and it's like, okay, well now we've taken away these rewards that they
You
were
have to
getting.
compete 10 times harder to get like 1/10 of the thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
it's
it's
like
just like
I'm
at a
not
certain
saying
point, people like also I mean, people always talk. There's like the science fiction idea. You obviously love reading of like, like wirejacking, where you like wire yourself to a
Yep.
machine and it gives you infinite pleasure. It's like, dude, we have wirejacking.
Yeah.
Wirejacking is like DoorDashed welfare food, and if you're in California, you say you're alcoholic, and the state gives you like vodka for free, and then you just scroll TikTok and like YouTube Shorts all day. That's like wirejacking is here, man.
It's
And at a
also
certain point,
yeah.
it
Go
is
ahead.
just better than the alternative for X amount of people.
There's also like this problem of the like sort of marginal improvement of like life possibilities, outcomes, the things you have as you like scale up the ladder. So you work 1/10 or you work 10 times as hard to get 1/10, but it's also like even if you somehow achieve or get a highly successful career or you're competent at it and you make a lot of money, the things you can get that the guy making 80 grand a year just sitting on his ass collecting welfare is like not that much more.
yeah.
I mean, there is some threshold where you can like, yeah, have your own private jets and so
Once
on.
yeah,
or
it's
private
like
islands,
you
I've
have
but
to
said
it's
this
like
like,
for
you
a
have to
long
hit
time, which is we need class consciousness amongst the like 80K to like 120K, like W2 worker. Like that guy is the most oppressed guy in society,
yeah,
actually, is the guy who's like a first year investment banking
yeah,
analyst. That is the most oppressed guy. That guy gets hit with like a 50% effective tax rate in New York. He
yeah,
gets zero welfare. He's the only person who like is still working a real job for like 16 hours a day.
exactly.
And
He could be working at like BART or like the subway and be making 200K a year to work like do like real 10 hours of work a week. He could be
yes,
working some public sector union job. But also,
yes.
okay, you're making 120K or 200K, whatever it is. So you can buy yourself like a new iPhone. It's the
So
exact
this
same
is
iPhone the guy
where
who's
we're
a
counter
deca
signaling
millionaire
Rufo
has.
here a little. We're
What's
we're
that?
counter signaling Rufo here a little with
I
his
know.
Panda Express take. But I've always joked about this when it comes to inflation. This is a joke I say all the time, is like there's that guy who like you talk about like, dude, inflation's out of control, everything's like too expensive, like things aren't affordable for a normal person. And there's some version of a guy who like sits there and goes like, but look at the inflation index, like
Yeah.
that's just not true. And I just imagine that guy lives in like a one bed studio that he pays like $3,500 for. He has 17 TVs because the cost of a TV has
Yeah.
gone down, like 4
Zero.
MacBooks.
Yeah.
But then he's on like a third of a healthcare plan that
Yeah.
only covers him for all like it covers him for like if he wants to like, get a boob job,
Yeah.
but not like his whatever like normal person ailment that he has. Um, it's like I think it's just like the things that actually matter in life have had like 3 different levels of shrinkflation.
Yeah.
And then the things that don't really matter, that like, yeah, is it nice to have a marginally thinner, marginally larger TV? Sure, man, but that's not what life is about. Like that's not why people get up in the morning. Or like
we
a
might we
healthy
might actually
person.
be out of touch here. If all of the normal people like sports this much, they're presumably watching it on something, right?
Yeah.
So maybe
Yeah, but I
maybe
think
the
it's like the
reason that the
third
TVs
TV
are
doesn't
so
add a
cheap and
lot of
big now,
value,
but
right?
maybe it's like the resolution, or they made some pixels that are like really dark blacks and we just don't appreciate it. And this is actually
The
the
blacks are
greatest
We're the
so dark,
Philistines
man.
because like we don't properly appreciate like watching the like 16K, Sunday night football game with like the
Yeah.
dynamic betting like that you can click on the screen and you just like tell your remote like the bet you want to make on the next play.
They're stacking OLED panels now, right?
Yeah.
They used to just have one stack of OLED
Uh-huh.
pixels. Now they have two. I'm unsure of the benefits of all this, but I've seen a
Uh-huh.
lot of people writing that they're really excited that they're going to do these in the new Macs.
Yeah.
Presumably because it looks awesome when they're viewing baseball, right?
Yeah.
So, at what point did you start Passage? Like, at what point did
Yeah,
you?
good question. So, okay, so it's 2020. No, the dark days of 2021, and we're in like the midst of COVID. My wife and I picked up and moved. We were in California. We pick up and moved to Montana, and
Wow.
we were still teaching at the time because everything's remote. But I had all this free time, and everybody's just sitting around posting all day. Like, that's the other thing that's actually different now than before. Everybody's still online all the time, but I think people forget like just how much people were posting and like online content people were consuming. Like during COVID era, it's just a totally different kind
It
of scale.
genuinely like revolutionized the internet forever. The amount of
Yeah.
people that were forced to like log on to every community,
Yeah.
like Twitter is, I mean, everyone is still kind of like, when we see about any changes Nikita made to the algorithm, it's kind of because everyone's like remembering that period. And I think a
Yeah.
lot of the reason it got shittier isn't necessarily because of like algorithmic changes or whatever, but just because like everybody was forced online with nothing else to do.
Yeah.
Like that, it was going to be the golden age, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's right. Looking back, that's probably right. And so everybody's online, everybody's looking for something to do. And there was all this talk, everything's about politics all the time. And my like area of interest, of course, is like literature and books and so on. And there was some stuff in our scene, like everybody's book posting, but it's all a very particular kind. It's all just like philosophy, abstruse political theory, these like dense histories and so on, which was great. But I just like was observing there's something missing here. And what I observed was missing was just any attention being paid to like literature as an art form, like short stories and so on, and novels and poetry. There just wasn't that much of that stuff. So I got the idea. I had run a journal for a little while in my normie life. So I was familiar with like knowing how to take in submissions, and I was an editor. Like I had edited people who had like won national book awards and stuff, and so I had like an actual talent. I had something I could provide that was probably, I had more experience in this particular domain probably than most people like in our scene, because I'd made it through the lib filter. Like in this one area where if you weren't a lib, you were very unlikely to have made it to this point I had made it to. So I was like, okay, I can help some people who want to get involved in like writing stories, writing novels. So I started this contest, and the idea was to give out, I think like $5,000 at the time. Crypto was mooning, and I had some like crypto that I'd invested. And I was like, well, whatever. It's just fake internet money. I might as well like spread it around. And what happened was I posted this and it started generating attention. And I think partly because crypto was mooning, and then also because everyone's online and they're like paying attention to it, a bunch of people started putting money into the project as well. So pretty soon I had like 20 grand to give out in prizes. And all these people started sending me stuff. I got thousands of submissions, and eventually I chose some winners, put them all in a book, and then sold the book online. And I didn't know what I was doing with the book. So I ended up spending, gosh, it cost me like over $200 per unit to make the physical book.
Damn.
And so I was like 70 grand or so out of pocket to just produce the thing. And so I just sort of crossed my fingers and was like, hopefully people will buy this. And they did. And it was really validating on a number of levels. And then I decided to do another one. And then from there, I thought, maybe there's something here. Let me see if I can do just a regular book. And Curtis Yarvin, who's a friend, I asked him if I could take his blog, your unqualified reservations.
Let me take over here.
Yeah.
And you guys managed to turn it into one of the best. And I think you guys are one of the, as far as I know, the only people that have managed to satisfyingly turn a blog into a book. It's really amazing, because one of the great things about a blog is, there is some level of connection between the pieces.
Yeah.
But it's kind of bite-sized. You can just log in and, read a couple page scrolls on your computer. Another thing is you can reference material, and so something that you guys did that's amazing, and everyone should buy this book. And as well, the land book is also kind of like this.
Yeah.
There's the land book Xenosystems. If you want to hold that up to the camera and
This
pose
is the
with it.
first.
Yes, I have that
This is
exact
the first
one.
Unqualified Reservations, and then this is Xenosystem. So these were two of our first books.
Also, the Xenosystems hat is a swagged up hat.
Thank you.
Good hat, dude. I have all this stuff on the bookshelf behind me. The viewers can't see, but it's all there.
Nice.
Anyways, and you guys have this amazing thing you did where you can actually scan the QR codes.
Yeah.
And it'll take you. So, for example, one of the big problems when you try to turn a blog into a book is maybe you link some video or you link some other article. Back in the day when Curtis was putting out the first version of UR and whatnot, you would do a lot where you would like have a back and forth argument with somebody else, and you would reference their blog in a link.
Yeah.
And what you guys did that's amazing is the QR codes are included with historical captures of what the pages looked like that were linked.
Yeah. So this was one of my editorial innovations. And the thing with Curtis's book and all online writing, but Curtis in particular, is just highly referential. So it's always linking. And the thing is that it became immediately obvious when I started it was you can't just remove the links because the text doesn't make sense without the context of the links. And he won't even explain what it is, what like the topic is he's talking about. Like you have to click on the link and it takes you to some obscure Wikipedia page. And the real pleasure, one of the pleasures of reading Curtis in particular is not like his ideas only or his arguments, but he's feeding you like a curriculum that you're not going to get anywhere else. So there's this real like experience of exploration you can only achieve online. And you find, like, I would find myself when I first started reading his blog, it was just like mind bending for a sensitive young man at the time, because you would get to these Wikipedia pages. And if you had some patience and curiosity, then from there, you just like find yourself going down these crazy rabbit holes and discovering all sorts of stuff that was, for me anyway, just totally obscured from my understanding of the world. Like I had no idea these things even existed. And so, okay, I wanted to recreate that experience in the book, but it was going to be really difficult to do that with a hardcover or with a physical print. And I wanted to simultaneously achieve that you could read it without the QRs at all. So there would be a coherent reading experience. And if you were just like on a beach somewhere and didn't have internet access or just didn't want to have your phone around with you, you could still read through the thing and have a perfectly legible understanding of what he was trying to say. So it took some tinkering, but that process of doing that just convinced me not only that there was like a market for like an audience for this, but there was a real sort of like archival value to it because you know,
I've been stopped, by the way, with the Nick Land book at like an airport or something.
Nice.
Someone's like, "Oh my god, is that like a Nick Land book?" And I'm like, "Yeah." No, I'm so serious.
Cool. That's great to hear.
It was, I won't say who, but I've been stopped by a very well-known politician.
Wow, interesting.
Yes,
that's fascinating. Okay.
Yes. I'll tell you later when we're off air. But cool. super interesting stuff. So anyways, you go more in on this. You do your first book with Curtis. You start to go a little bit more in.
Curtis, and then Steve Saylor, Nick Land were the first three. And just to add a little bit more context to this, because I'll like help maybe you understand like what I was thinking at the time and just remembering what it was like to just be doing stuff culturally in 2022 or whatever. It sounds crazy now, but there was like a real fear that, you know, Nick Land's writing or Curtis Yarvin's writing or Steve Saylor's writing would just disappear forever.
Well, it was like, that was totally possible, right? Like this was all happening during an era where like, the Daily Stormer was, I don't know if you ever remember Anglin's site, but this guy had his domain stolen by Google effectively. And all of the tech companies, the organizational body that, the groups that comprise ICANN and all of these people, basically made it impossible for him to exist on the ClearNet, right? And they didn't even technically really violate laws doing so. It was just that enough parts of the internet are controlled by private corporations that if they so deem you to be a threat to whatever the fuck, they can just kind of say like, yeah, off of the internet you go, right?
Yeah.
So he had his website stolen and everyone else was like, well, why could that not happen to literally any other website? And the answer was just like, it can, right?
It can. And the justifications for them doing that is that,
He's mean.
Anglin was a neo-Nazi, white nationalist, whatever, which of course they were just applying, to all of us. Like I was in that exact same category of transgression. So if they were going to remove, if it was just going to be like, and by the way, the other thing people forget is this isn't just like random tech companies doing this. They were doing this, but also there was an entire layer of sort of institutional, like legal frameworks that were becoming internationalized where they all wanted to do this. Like if you read, there's still like lawyers like at law schools all over the place writing these articles, but you would regularly read in places like the Atlantic, for example, it's time for us to adopt European norms for our internet.
Yes.
The open internet is over. That like went as far as it can. Now it presents a national security risk. Okay, we were talking, I'm not sure if it was on air or whatever. We were talking about like these misinformation, disinformation people. They were leading this institutional charge to like shut everything down. So that's happening. Secondly, like ebooks, okay, they were just stealth editing ebooks. So if you
They're still doing that.
Yeah, they're still doing that. So if you didn't own physical copies of stuff, yeah, it was like it looked like a real possibility that this kind of internet samizdat would just disappear forever. And like my intention was to I wanted to print out just like these pamphlets of like Steve Saylor, Curtis Yarvin, Nick Land, whoever. And I was just going to go like put them in libraries. I was just going to pass them out. There's a certain billionaire, not the one you're thinking of, who I was going to ask money from so I could do this because I didn't have any intention of
I love when people say this on the show. Sorry, I have to stop you here. This is like a bit we have where it's like you just go, we all know exactly what billionaire we're thinking of, and it's like
our
there's
other
always like 7 people. We've also been like that one super annoying poster on Twitter who does this or that other
one
thing.
Huge fraud who's always like pathologically lying. We all know who it is.
Yeah.
The other one we really like is we're gonna have to clip that. We're gonna have to clip that because no matter what, like you can clip it, sure. You can also leave it in, and everyone feels like they've been given like a packaged surprise, right? They're like, "Oh my god, like they forgot to clip it. This is like insider information. I'm really close to the source here. That's awesome." The other thing that we forgot to do though is welcome to the plausibly deniable experience. We're joined by our guest Lomez here, and we wanted to give a big thank you to our sponsors, Polymarket. Actually,
Zcash, yes.
Polymarket, Zcash. I don't know how to do the sponsor reel. If we have Lomez, it's like, do we?
Well, I can welcome back to another episode of the Plausibly Deniable Experience. We are honored with us to have the very handsome, doxed, charming-looking Lomez with us, who is in fact representing one of our sponsors here, Network Press. God bless, along with our amazing lineup: Polymarket, Zcash, Citizen X. Go buy their products and services, click on their links, follow them on Twitter, tell them we sent you, tell them the schizophrenics sent you. But speaking of actually your docs, and we'll cut things up ex post or whatever.
Yeah.
Speaking of your docs, so when did you start taking Passage.press more seriously?
Yeah.
And then does the docs happen because of that? I actually never really looked into your docs. I do this thing that whenever someone gets doxed, I kind of politely look away. It's like someone like the wind is like lifting some girl's skirt and you suddenly the floor is really interesting.
Yep.
What happened to the degree that you're comfortable telling us?
Yeah. It was once I started Passage and the journalist who did it used that as like justification. Okay. Like you are now entering the arena and therefore, everything about you is up for like public inspection.
The public has a right to know what the person publishing this blah, blah, blah.
Now,
anyways,
I don't think that's altogether wrong. I have to say, like conceptually, that's like, okay, yeah. If you are someone who is engaging in sort of the public arena, let's just call it, at some level of significance, and I don't know where the threshold is, then yeah, like you do become, the legitimate subject of journalistic interest. Actually, like, I have to say, I think that's fine.
So how
Okay?
many followers would
But
a podcast have to have before you
yeah,
would
that's a
deem it
good.
to be
Well, that's a good.
Exactly how
Yeah.
many followers
Well,
would a
okay. Let
podcast?
me like the second piece of that though is this is fine under the condition that that journalistic interest is like done fairly, is done in the
So, by the
spirit
way, this
of
is very
advancing.
circumstantially funny
Yeah.
because we've been followed by, I believe, like 3 or 4 journalists in the
Yeah.
past couple weeks.
I fucking hate these people.
Yeah, I wonder
Okay.
what that threshold is,
I don't know what the
Lucas.
threshold is, but I'm like anyway. But the problem is though, of course, these people are just like
Often
malicious.
not fair. Yeah,
Yeah,
very
they are
often not
malicious
fair.
ideological actors who are using the imprimatur of, you know, the Guardian or the Wall Street Journal or whatever as a veil to commit these acts of like ideological and political sabotage on people who they view as their enemies. And that's all this is. Okay. So if this was legitimate journalism, then fine, but that's not what this is. So in my case, okay, I start Passage. I'm doing the tour with Sailor. I was getting some attention from some prominent people. Of course, Curtis Yarvin is becoming a subject of like interest, and I published Curtis and this whole like online right wing thing. I had published some articles that had gotten some like mainstream sort of popularity. Okay, so this guy starts digging in how he found my name and so on. I don't know. I think maybe this is a case of what we call parallel construction, but I don't know. Okay. I can't say for
Do you want
sure.
to tell us even off air? All right, we're coming back now.
Okay.
So you get doxxed. What's your biggest advice when you get doxxed besides mewing really hard, looks maxing, losing 10 pounds?
Dude, I don't know. It's I hate giving advice about this because everybody's situation is unique, and I recognize that my situation was unique in the sense that I was well equipped to sort of not be damaged by it, because by then
Passage was like your main
I had
income
left
by
my
then,
teaching
right?
gig. So I no longer was tied to this institution where it would matter. One. Two is I had developed relationships with institutional actors on the right who I had let know this was happening and had kind of warned them about like what were my sins? Like what were the bad things I was being accused of? And the two things that this person accused me of doing, besides just like publishing Curtis Yarvin or publishing Ernst Younger, okay, is that I had said the word on the internet. Like area man uses a slur on the internet was like literally the headline. And so they're like, all right, that's fine. Like we can live with this. So, but to their credit, because I think there was a period of time where the institutional right was really worried about backlash from associating too much with this like weird online space. And I think my docs was an occasion where they could sort of test the waters a little bit. And so, you know, Claremont Institute, people like Chris Rufo immediately came out in my support. Steve Bannon had me on his show like the next day. Some others like, you know, Jack Posobiec and Charlie Kirk had me on almost right away. So I owe like a great deal of gratitude to these people who came to my defense. And then, yeah, also I was in this situation where I could.
Did you get messages from like random like friends from high school, like 30 years back or
Dude,
something?
it was weird. It was weird. The kind of personal, the personal blowback was a little different. Of course,
was there any positive? Like anyone was like, dude, such a funny account, man. I love this racist tweet of yours, bro.
I'm not going to say who. Not that he's like a public figure or something, but there was a guy from grad school, and I was like in an English department in grad school. Everybody's like a arch lib, or you know, just like DSA style. And he sends me a text. He's like, dude, I've been following your account for like a decade. Like the whole time, like we
so
were in
epic.
grad school together. Like, how could you have never said anything to me, you know? And he's like, I swore you were like a Bernie bro. And I was like, me too. Like, I thought you were too, man. And so we
It's
reconnected
so
after
funny.
like a
Just
decade.
two dudes like next to each other
Yes.
in like the like English department. Like, you know, you have offices next to each other and like you're both like you're like, you know, I catch the game last night. Did you see that crazy thing Donald Trump, the orange guy, said?
Yeah, orange
and then
man
like you both
bad,
go into your
right?
office and just like immediately start typing like multiple slurs into the
Yeah.
computer as quickly as possible.
Yeah. So that was funny. I definitely got some people like like my friends, but like my friends' dads, like these boomers who are like, "Oh, dude, Trump's the man. Like, I love Trump."
That's so epic, dude.
They're like, "Dude, tell me about Bannon, you know, like they want to
Dude, there's a specific
So
variety of boomer, especially
Yeah.
those in finance
Yeah.
that I've found where they're undercover, but they're so bad at being undercover.
Yeah.
And then the
Yeah.
second they learn that you like Trump, they're like, dude, bro,
Yeah.
man. Like that's
It's like
crazy.
Oh, and it's also like these Facebook boomers who are like, you know, they've like baby's first red pill, you know, they've like taken their first red pill and they like find out like you support Trump and they're like, we just have to like mass or all of Antifa in the streets, right? Like, and I'm like,
dude, we're gonna have to
like,
bleep.
chill,
We're gonna have to do some
chill.
bleeping out there. That's
Yeah.
gonna be so funny though.
Yeah, they're
The
like
boomers-
helicopters, like we got to
Dude,
drop them all in the
It's
ocean.
like
I'm like,
it's
all right.
very it's very
like-
hard to change the mind of a
just
boomer, but
hold
once
on,
you
it's
do
the
change their
Sam
mind, it's
Hyde. It's
Yeah.
like the Sam Hyde clip, like activation code Ronald McDonald. All true patriots report to battle
Yeah.
stations.
Yeah. Well, because you can tell too, they've like never been able to talk about this with anyone ever in their life.
It's
So
so,
they're
true. You
so
become the like
excited.
designated guy they can reach
Yeah.
out to.
Yeah.
but the worst part
You
is
just
like,
start
these
getting a
people
bunch
will
of like
still-
AI Trump memes.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
they'll still pretend to everyone else. Like they can have
Uh-huh.
these conversations, but then like they'll be like, "Ah, yes, honey, just finished voting for Harris or something," and you're like,
Uh-huh.
"Dude, like you're
Uh-huh.
so gay, man! Like what is going on?"
Uh-huh.
Like you just never want to meet these guys around their wives. It's the most disheartening thing in the universe.
Or it's like, man, it's like great that you support Trump, and that's awesome, and like, but also at the same time, I kind of wish you never would have gotten access to the internet. It's like,
Yes. No,
Yes,
dude,
because
this
it's
is what I
like
was saying.
super earnest.
Yeah.
It's the guy who just fell in love with a band that you've known
Yeah.
for 5 years.
Yeah.
Man.
It is so goddamn hard to get boomers to change their mind, but like once you do it, you're almost never like, this was a good idea. It's usually like, fuck, bro,
Yeah.
I should have just left them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you meet a native tribe and you give them like a sip of grain alcohol for the first time. And it's just over. Like
They just
don't-
instantly turn
they
red
can't
and start threatening
metabolize
to
it.
kill
Like, they-
everyone.
Yeah. It's like you've just ruined their society. Like you've introduced, you know, like sugar into this society. They all become like diabetics who die off. It's like this lost Amazon tribe who's just like discovered Starburst for the first time, and they're like dead within a like decade because they can't handle it.
I did this at work. This was like, I made a bunch of like really stupid normie mistakes at work. I guess like not normie mistakes as mistakes normies usually make, but mistakes as in like dealing with normal people mistakes. Some of them were like red pilling these. You know, when you're talking to someone and you can tell just like philosophically what they're aligned with, right?
Yeah.
So you might be talking to someone and it's like through circumstances of life they identify as like a Democrat, but they're actually more like libertarian aligned in terms
Yeah.
of their personal philosophy.
Yeah.
So like the guys who were like clearly like the philosophical type of you're going to be far right eventually, I would just be like, okay, here's like the breadcrumbs. Let's see where you go with this. And then you're just always like, okay, this was like super. This guy's like he's now like messaging me over like Microsoft Teams, talking about like fucking Curtis Yarvin in the middle of the workday, like using every slur possible. And you're like, this is really bad. And then the problem also is they all start confiding in you about like their marriage problems and stuff. And you're just like, XAI currently is trading at a 4% chance. So it's like, you can just say XAI is not going to have the best AI model in the world in the next like 45 days, like 0% chance. This is 0%. So like you can get slightly better than the risk-free rate. You get 4% in like 45 days or something. That's not bad, right?
That's a lot better than the risk-free rate, but The average person who's punting on Polymarket is not really going to appreciate that, I think. That's significantly better. That's like annualizes to like a 25% or something.
I think it's you know, it's illegal or whatever to say free money, but like if I'm looking at all these charts and I have to figure out which one.
The meme is you have to say like they're selling dollars for 50 cents and then you don't say which direction. There's one of the better memes. Joe Weisenthal, huge pioneer of this one. Just anytime a price was at 50% on Polymarket, he'd be like, they're selling dollars for 50 cents and just not clarify which direction he thinks is the right one. And like, it's definitionally true, right? Like one of these two outcomes has to come true.
It's harder for us to pretend though, because it's like one side is like 96 and the other is like 4.
They're selling dollars for some amount of money.
There's dollars in there's dollars for an amount of money less than $1. Just I hope you picked the right
It doesn't quite roll off the tongue, but
it's not as catchy.
We'll get there.
I don't know, because like none of this advice scales. And so it's like hard for me to say, okay, here's what I did. And here's the kind of woman who like, there's like a third way. It doesn't have to be like smart, conniving, like, you know, extractive wife versus dumb, like servile wife. I think there's still, okay, basically, I think in my case, because I'm just older enough than you guys that I might have caught the tail end of this thing. Plus, in the same, you know, how they say like California is like 10 years ahead of the rest of the country in terms of like culture and like kind of music and stuff.
Yeah.
There are like pockets of like the Midwest that are basically 10 years behind. And I found a wife who's from a particular part of like the Midwest that's basically like 10 years behind. So she's actually a few years younger than me, but she's like, she has the same kind of attitudes that like an old Gen Xer would have.
You caught the arb.
Yeah. So I don't know.
This is
I don't know if
thing,
the pockets of the Midwest are still. The internet just flattens it all out, so maybe it just doesn't matter.
I know
anymore.
that's what I was gonna say is that like increasingly, it's like, you know, like different world cities used to be somewhat different, and now we're getting to the point where like every big city in every part of the country certainly is looking very similar, but even now in every part of the world, like there are getting to be similarities. Like there shouldn't be that many similarities between like New York City and anywhere in China, anywhere in Taiwan, anywhere in Asia, right? But it's like they kind of exist now.
I find this deeply sad. I mentioned earlier on the like pod, I used to do a ton of traveling overseas. I lived internationally for quite a long time, like for most of my 20s. And you would go to different places and they'd be very different in all sorts of different ways. Now you started to see some of the homogenization like settling in certain pockets versus others. And there was this whole thing about the world is flat. This was a Tom Friedman book around turn of the century, like early 2000s, maybe early 90s. And this whole idea of like all this stuff flattening out and a McDonald's diplomacy. So like two countries with McDonald's don't go to war with each other. And all the Davos types were like, oh, wait, what this means is we have to like literally put a McDonald's in every like major metropolis in the world. And then we're fine. And then it's the end of history, guys. Like Starbucks and McDonald's, like we win. They were like kind of right. But they also, so they tried actually doing this. And maybe there's also just there's a kind of like political and economic physics that demands this sort of homogenization over time. Maybe it's just inevitable. But I find it incredibly enervating and sort of like sad. And I've realized like I actually love diversity. I like love the idea of like having all of these like
it's because you like novelty, right? Like I'm the same way. Like I like novelty. I want to change my environment greatly, like every 2 to 3 months, right?
Yeah.
Like I am otherwise very like confused and sort of unfulfilled.
Yeah.
We're just gonna get called Jewish for this also. It's like we have two Jewish people talking about how we need to move every 2 months. Like, it's like
the rootless cosmopolitan, man. That's the thing. It's like it's the Curtis Yarvin Dark Elves thing, man. It just is.
It's chill. Just be cool about it. Be chill about it, okay?
No, but I think it's like this is something that we talk about all the time actually on here, is that we are always in the world trying to remove friction and like increase liquidity conditions for everything, right?
Yeah.
And the effect of this, unfortunately, is that everything becomes geared towards idiots, and also everything becomes exactly the same, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just the gradual sludgification of everything. Like this is probably the best argument against capitalism overall,
Yeah.
is that like if you want to reach more people with your product, how do you do that? You have to make it more accessible. What does making anything more accessible mean? It means building it for fucking idiots, right?
Yeah. Well, and because scale reduces inefficiencies. And so if you can just sort of regularize and systematize processes across distances, I mean, if you can just plug and play your Starbucks in you know, in Bangkok, and it looks the exact same as the Starbucks in Moscow and the Starbucks in Pensacola, Florida, or whatever. All of the systems that kind of rule and operate those different Starbucks is just one thing. I mean, you just have like a single system, so it's like obviously more efficient. I don't know if that's like necessarily the case though. It just is because we're
I
not
think what we
smart
talk
enough.
about a lot
We're not
is that
smart
like you
enough to
lose
handle all the
something.
different variables. So we need the variables to be the same everywhere. But it could be that when we're not running these systems, when there's like AIs running these systems, that efficiency becomes irrelevant.
I think it's always going to come down to tooling. Like, I think we're always going to hit some cap where just like the physical tooling required. Like, if you're talking about McDonald's, it actually becomes a supply chain and logistics thing where if you want to have, like, different countries right now might still even have different, let's say, an ice cream machine, right?
Yeah.
So now you have multiple different production lines,
Yeah.
which is going to necessitate probably multiple different facilities and all these things. You have like the overhead is obviously increased. So in order to have any difference, it just literally is always at a production level going to cost more. I don't know if there's anything you can do to rule that out unless you're dealing with like a purely digital product that has basically zero marginal cost.
Well, no, local production becomes equally efficient to mass scale production. And so like, okay, right now it's way more efficient for me to buy all my vegetables and fruit from the grocery store. That's like, I can't reproduce like a greenhouse on my like 4-acre, property that could come close to reproducing that efficiency.
He
But
just
there is
flexed his
some
lawn at us,
world in
by the
which
way,
I
Salo.
could. There's some world in which that greenhouse is like capable enough, and I have enough tools at my like all-purpose tools at my disposal that I don't even have to touch really. And the bots are just running and measuring all the soils for me, and managing all the temperatures in my local greenhouse on my property, where that becomes equally, if not more efficient, and certainly more customizable than what I can buy at the store. I mean, that is a possibility, right?
I think that's a possibility. Here,
Yeah.
this is my classic question that Sela hates, but are you singularity pilled then? Do
Yeah.
you think we're going there? We're gonna send it hard takeoff AI, thermonuclear, like what is the
I have been resisting reaching this conclusion for a long time because, like, I don't know, like intuitionally, like I have two answers to this. I've been resisting it because I don't like it. Like it's like it militates against some like hunch I have, some like taste preference I have, but I can't come up with an argument for why it won't happen at all, unless the only arguments I can come up with that aren't is really that technical and you may just like laugh at if you know the technical parts of it better than me is one, for something like this complex, like the last mile is always the hardest, and it just scales exponentially as you get closer to the last step. And so it just could be that we are constantly approaching it but can't get there. There's some like unknown technical reason why you just can't get there. There's some problem.
I think everyone in San Francisco would respond to that by saying that like no bro, recursive self-improvement is actually going to speed us up as we get to but it's like I do kind of agree like intuitively that the thing that we're going for is probably a little bit different than the thing that we have in ways that we don't quite understand, and our assumptions about scaling that are being made now are sort of like toss more compute at it, like more parameters, like all of these things.
Yeah, I think this idea, you have like an old debate here, which was, and this is like very nerdy, but people used to believe in what we call now symbolic AI. And the idea of symbolic AI is like it will really semantically understand what's going on right? That's like your HAL 9000s or whatever, right? Land, maybe we'll have Land on or someone like that at some point, and we'll really get deep into it. But you had symbolic AI, which the idea is like it'll semantically really understand what's going on. And instead, what's happened is we've got, in machine learning AI has just proved to be a more fructiferous path than a true semantic understanding of what you're saying. And so the machine, at least the way I understand it, there's like a cope argument, which I'll get into in a little, but the original belief was like, okay, we have this semantic path where you really try to understand what's going on with the AI. Like the AI really tries to understand semantically what you're saying. That's symbolic AI. And then over time, it became clear that machine learning AI just throw more compute at it, bro.
Yeah.
Like stop questioning at it. And this is, I think Karpathy wrote this, or I can't remember who, which is like the tough to swallow thesis, or like the difficult pill or something. I can't remember what exactly the blog post is, but it's like every problem where like you think the solution is like, oh, I just need to find a better data set, or like I just need to fine tune it. It's like, no, man, stop coping.
Yeah.
Just like buy another order of magnitude more compute, and get another order of more magnitude more of like crappy data. And like it doesn't even need to be good data, and you could just keep running that forever, and it'll keep getting better.
Yeah, could be I guess philosophically, what I'm like imagining is something like a Zeno's paradox for reaching the singularity, where like you can buy more compute that gets you halfway closer.
Yeah, this is the I'll round out, and then like just to round that out, now there's some people that say yes, but there's emergent properties, and once you hit a certain level of like just enough compute, it actually does have a world model, and it starts to actually understand how things work. What you're talking about now, which I would love to believe, but I no longer really believe it's true, is this idea that like there's diminishing returns. What you said earlier, some people believe this, which is like complexity is exponential.
Yeah.
And it's like a seventh or like a millionth order exponential. And so the closer, like the world is very complex, and like 1 + 1 = 2 is pretty easy and is like moderately useful. And then to get to something that's 2x as useful as 1 + 1 = 2, you need more than 2x compute.
Yeah.
Right. And so as that scales up into like 100 times more useful, the compute numbers just become prohibitively expensive.
Yeah.
The other thing you mentioned is this idea that like diminishing returns to intelligence, right? Which is like the idea here is like, 2000 ELO chess player is like pretty useful, but like for most moves, you don't need Magnus Carlsen. For most moves, like just not sucking at chess will get you pretty far. And so there's a couple different takes there. I've kind of had the exact same opinion that you've had, which is like I've been like cope maxing about this for a really, really, really long time. And it's just becoming incredibly difficult to cope.
I agree
that it's not happening.
I agree. I haven't like I keep trying to come up with like these arguments.
It's maximum cope, but like I'd really love if all AI progress stops like right now. Like I think we're at kind of like this is like such a boomer thing, which is like all technology was perfect when I was X age, that's like some point in my late 20s / early 30s. And it's like it's just not going to stop.
Okay,
bro.
yeah.
It's not.
Okay, so I have a couple. So from like an aesthetic, or I don't even know if it's an aesthetic point of view, but there's a part of me that just says, not only is it cope, it's like it's pointless because every generation thinks they're in some kind of apocalyptic moment for whatever reason, usually as it applies to some technology, some new technology. Two is we've gone through this, every era, every epoch has some new version of Luddite that is worried about the thing happening right now. And the thing usually actually even exceeds the Luddites' worst fears about what it's going to be. So if you go read like early Ludditism about the Industrial Revolution, their like worst imagination about what might come to fruition was exceeded like within decades of these things being written, and like we're fine and here we are. But okay, so maybe it just doesn't matter. This is just pure cope, and we're just being narcissistic, and we're over-indexing on the particular time we're living in, which is like a normal thing to do. okay, there's like the Fermi's paradox thing though, because once I'm willing to accept that we get there, that we cross that final threshold and achieve this sufficient complexity where it is like just self-iterating over and over, then I go, okay, it's not only that I have trouble seeing where the end of that is, I don't think we're equipped to do so. We have to like, there's this humility that has to set in where we just say, look, we can't think beyond that step. I mean, we can, because we're doing so within the limitations of like human cognition, which we're allowing in this scenario to be insufficient or lesser than the thing that we're actually imagining into being. So human cognition is like, it's like no longer relevant. Like, what does it even matter what we imagine or think or want? And then I just go, okay, then I just like throw my hands up.
Right.
And just
It's
say,
like it's the final.
Yeah,
like, we've
I
all
think
gotten
it's one of
very
these
good at doing
things-
predictions over everything that's going to happen. Like
Yeah.
we've spent our whole lives becoming predictive generators. Like we have to do takes, right? We have to
Yeah.
guess what the fuck's going to happen. But like this is truly the ultimate. Like if you're still guessing at this one, you're kind of a retard thing,
Yeah.
right?
That's
Like
how
I think the
feel.
problem is, and this is my big thing, where you can do this argument, and I had this big argument with Mark, Mark
Yeah.
Andreessen, who's a great guy, friend of the
Yeah.
friend of the channel, etc. But his argument for a long time has been like these things aren't dangerous. And I think also part of what he's saying when he says that is like he's preempting a response that, we can only have the woke AI or whatever.
Yeah.
And so he's preempting something politically. And he's like, oh, LLMs are just math. And I'm like, well, nukes are just physics.
Yeah.
Right. And I do think the other problem is a lot of the people don't accept the own conclusions. Like even people who work at these companies who I know don't accept the conclusions. Like they're like really worried. They're like, I don't care about money anymore. I just need equity because the singularity happens and I need equity in like the light cone. It's like, dude,
To what end?
imagine you're a trillion times smarter than everybody on Earth.
Yeah.
And someone says like, yeah, this guy John who worked at OpenAI owns 0.0001%. And I'm like, would you pay him a percentage of your income? Like, no, you're a trillion times smarter than him. Like, why would you ever, you know what I mean? And so I think and maybe you do out of some sense of like fealty or what, like it can get pretty complex. But I just think the problem is that most people don't actually accept the most basic conclusions that come of accepting that these premises are true. Like,
yeah.
And this gets to what you're saying, which is if you really accept that it is recursively self-improving, then I think every bet is off and almost nothing matters except that.
Yeah.
And then one of the very strange things that happens is like these people, like you had the big thing with Anthropic the other day, where like, they had this mix up with the Department of War and whatever. And there's this idea that like they're beyond government, and it's like, dude, your advertising literally says like we're gonna like finish the world as you know it, and intelligence is no longer costs any money, and we have trillion IQ superhuman being Claude, and you think that like the Department of War is going to be like okay with having you control that? Like it appears that you haven't accepted the very obvious conclusion that is at the result of the premises of like these
everybody
ads
is
that
LARPing.
you're doing.
Like literally just everyone is LARPing about this entire thing, right? Like you have all of the people at the major, like Sam Altman is the least LARPing of all of these people because he at least understands that like he's going to be nationalized. Like if he succeeds making what he says he's making, he's going to be nationalized as a corporation. And
the nation state has to do it. It is imperative in order for the nation state's self-survival to either take ownership of these things through physical force, or you're just ceding sovereignty. Okay.
Yes.
The only other option is this kind of like anarchic quasi.
No, and if you take it
state,
seriously, the nation state has a very small window to do this. Actually, like an incredibly small window to do this. And I really do think, again, I mean, we're like shamelessly showing it, but it's a great book. Nick Land is one of the guys who saw this coming in the 90s and the 2000s, was talking about this when this was still totally science fiction. Like, even the idea of a chatbot was like science fiction at this point, right? And he thought through the ramifications, and he's one of the few guys who like accepts the conclusions that come out of these premises. And as far as I understand it, you're obviously, you know, maybe better informed and obviously have talked to him and published all this stuff. But basically, his solution is like, the only answer that isn't cope is like, I have to accept that this is entirely inevitable. And I actually, like, the first time that a chimp like smashed two rocks together, a series of events was set into motion that will lead to like self-assembling GPUs around Dyson spheres on the sun. And like, I am significantly closer to the chimp than I am to the Dyson sphere.
It's incredibly bleak, but I'm very glad like I ran into Nick Land when I did, because I think the other path would have been to go down like the EA, you know, like Slate Star Codex route and try to imagine some scenario where you sort of moralize your way into control of these things, which is just, it's like so provincial and like frankly presumptuous. It's just
like
very
vulgar. It's just
vulgar.
It's weird. It's weird and bad, man. It's just a gross idea.
You're gonna, and so
it's kind of like imagining a bunch of like amoebas trying to control a human. Like a bunch of amoebas are like, we're gonna legislate. Like it's like from Gulliver, like the giant, you know, who's like strapped down by like a bunch of idiot, like tiny humans.
But also by enforcing some kind of like ground up construction of like the good based on, you know, based on some like kind of consequentialist logic. Okay. It's like just like purely utilitarian, like consequentialist logic. It's actually totally insane. And in like, Scott's a very smart guy, so like I'm not denigrating his intelligence or something. That's the cope to me. That's the ultimate cope. Whereas what Nick Land suggests, which I find it kind of bleak, but this idea that like human intelligence, like AI is path dependent, and you start with human intelligence, which is this evolutionary process, is sort of randomized at some level. But once it's on a track, like you said, once you're banging rocks together, once you're making fire, you are headed down this railway line that takes you through the like flowering of intelligence, social organization, this collective intelligence in order to share resources and extract resources and share those resources amongst each other, called capitalism, which is just a mechanism for like trading these things. It's the least amount of entropy. Okay, so it's the system of resource extraction with the least amount of entropy. Once you devise this, you're just headed down this one-way road to a super intelligence, where the human, the telos, is just us bootloading the machine intelligence. And it's like, is that like the human, is that what it is? Is that what it is to be human ultimately? Is that our role in this like giant cosmic play? I mean, maybe there's more to it. Maybe we get to stick around and live in some kind of like wildlife preserve. Okay, like
I think it is really funny. Like the most optimistic take of people that like truly internalize like what this is like, maybe I can amuse the god long enough. And it's a real return.
Dude, that's literally
it's a
been
return to like pre.
But isn't that a recursive
scientific
isn't
method.
that a recursive like reconstruction of religion as it is now?
Yes.
I mean,
yes, it's so amazing. It's just a return to like,
we're podcasters, dude. That we've already come to this conclusion, bro.
No,
like,
we have.
The best podcasters, okay, the most trenchant and insightful podcasters.
No, but I'm
is.
saying like
this
we've
is
already
how
determined.
we appease the machine god into like
we've
keeping
already
us
determined
running.
that it's like we must amuse everyone or it's over, right? That's what having a podcast is. You're inherently buying into that premise. You're living this idea, right? So we've already accepted that. I don't really have any like, no matter how this goes, right? Like we get the option where like, oh, all the rich people just get super rich. It's like, okay, I'll just amuse the super rich people until they decide to not kill me.
Gesture
right?
maxing is your only way to survive. Actually.
Yes.
If you're not gesture taxing,
the question
it's
though
over.
is what is amusing? What does it want? Like what are its like commandments? What
It doesn't matter. I'll figure
Well,
it
that's
out,
why
bro.
Lucas and I
This
are
is our
okay with
skill.
slurs on the podcast.
Yeah.
This is why
'Cause we
all of
think-
us are in the game that we are. We figure out what the audience wants. We make
Yeah.
the take and we
Yeah.
sell it to them, right? We're here to sell the takes.
Yeah.
We'll feel out the algorithmic boundaries on it. And
if it's the case, okay, if it's the case that this was all set in motion a long time ago, that this is just a necessary outgrowth of intelligence, then the preferences, the desire, the thing that it wants is sort of like pre-coded in. We actually, like, we already know, we should already know. It's the thing that brought us here in the first place, would be my guess. Like, we're doing precisely the thing that it wants of us. Unless the intention is to just, I mean, this is, look, okay, I'm just like reinventing God. I'm reinventing Calvinist, like a Calvinist God here.
Whenever we have this discussion, like at a certain level of discussion of like the principles and like obfuscating away the tech or whatever, you wind up like doing that thing where you're zooming out and then you just see fractals like going into the, you're like, oh, fuck, like we're just doing the loops again, right?
I'm just a Calvinist. Yeah. Damn. Okay. Yeah. I mean, look, I can't like, I've like tried to think about this, and I've read certainly a lot of people who I guess take a different position, or their version like stops at some point before the thing I get to. But like, I can't talk myself out of this. I can't talk myself.
Yeah, that's my
I've
thing.
like yet to come up with a logical construction. And again, maybe this is just like limitations of what we can do with human cognition. Like, reason might be somehow inadequate for understanding this in a like a sufficiently complex way. But I don't know. I can't think myself out of this conclusion.
So I think the more interesting fork that we can look at is like there is an opportunity to stop all of this that is coming up, right? Like, this is the meme that everyone talks about with like the data centers and stuff like that, right? But we're seeing like Sam Altman has allegedly now had 2 Molotov cocktails thrown at his house.
Yeah.
There's a very rising tide of anti-AI sentiment, right? Like,
this is the Fermi's paradox answer, right? Which is that if it's the case that intelligence naturally leads to this, then we would, because, you know, we're in a universe that's 14 billion years old and we're somewhere in the middle of that range, and probability just suggests that this ought to exist elsewhere. If it's just a function of intelligence, that we'd see it. We don't see it, and therefore it's because somewhere like along the path we just, I don't know, we do something about it. We like,
and it seems very clear right now that there's like a growing like actually genuinely violent and terroristic feeling among the populace. I mean, these AI people are sort of like the biggest retards in the entire world, because towards the end of advertising their product, they're going around telling all normal people, like, 50% of you will be out of work because of how good our company is. And
it's
insane. They're like, wow, that sounds awesome. And then they're like, I'm going to kill that guy, right? So you have, and then also liberals at this point have just like, they've become anti-technology as a whole.
Yeah.
So you have all the artists, all the like university girls, they just hate technology rabidly because of their philosophical positioning. It's not even related to them having or not having a job. They're just like, I hate crypto, I hate AI, I hate all of this shit. So those people already hated it. Right-wingers like their job. So you tell right-wingers that you're not going to be able to work to support anything, and they're like, that's not good. Like, you can actually meaningfully have like a bipartisan coalition of people who are like, yeah, we're just going to stop them from doing this. And I think we're still at the point where, like, if they get mad enough about this, they actually could basically revolt in like all countries. And it's like, what? It's the Ted Kaczynski meme. Everyone was like, there's no way you could bomb all the computers at the exact same time, bro. That's a little kooky, right? But like, I think
the bigger threat is from the right. And when I say threat, I mean like threat to the like full development of this, because the right's argument is not consequentialist. Like, it's not utilitarian in the way that like the left is, where it's about like working or something. There's this like emerging anti-human aspect to the way the right talks about this. And I think the right is just much more committed to their God. Okay. And like, I mean that seriously. And they're not going to let some new challenger to that God take its place. It's apocalyptic. It's existential to the right, to like the right leaning person in the way that I don't think it is to the left. And so, yeah, I mean, but I don't know. Again, this is like where my naivety about the technology comes in. But my hunch would be that's like too late. It doesn't matter. The technology, unless you wipe out everybody, this can just get built back up from scratch pretty quickly. As long as we keep a few chips around.
I mean, I think the thing is that data centers are actually like, they take a lot of power and they take up a lot of space at this point in time. Like, maybe this is also, by the way, this is why Elon wants to do space data centers, right?
Yeah.
Is because the common folk cannot bomb a data center that is in space.
Right.
There's no regulations
I think
in space, right?
Insane IPO pumping, man. I'm gonna be honest. I think it's insane IPO
I mean, it can
pumping.
be all things,
I don't think.
Right? Like,
I think you can put data centers in like remote enough areas. I think it's really hard. I think, again, like if you just accept the premises and you run them down, I think it is incredibly difficult. Also, because you have to consider, okay, great, let's assume, let's maybe say it in a nicer way. Let's assume, you can uninvite Sam Altman from enough particles in San Francisco that he's like, well, all right, guys, you got me, I'll stop. China's not going to stop.
No.
And so if China's not going to stop, the way the game theory works, like we know this from Nuke, it's very played out from nukes. You can't stop while the other guy keeps going. And so then, what do you do at that point, right? You can't really stop it. In China,
no,
I promise
you already
China,
failed. You already failed. You can actually stop China from having data centers. Like, we are the U.S. If things
I don't think you have the political will for that in any way more than you have the political will for like the government to like put Sam Altman on house arrest.
We don't now.
I just don't think you do.
Is the data center the technical bottleneck here? Like, where if you were trying to,
at the moment, the weakest one is the assembling of power and compute in a physical location. In theory, NVIDIA makes a million times better chip, and you can like develop AI in your bathroom.
Yeah.
In practice, right now, like the thing that prevents the training of the next model that is X times better is I need Y times more compute in the same space to do a training run, which the training runs are incredibly, incredibly expensive.
They're getting to be like over $100 million to train one of these models now.
These frontier models?
Sorry, 100 billion to be clear. I don't know if I heard million. It's
that's
billions.
The energy cost?
That's the energy plus the time weighted value of the compute plus the cooling plus the technical talent for some of it, which is less and less significant. Except obviously what happens is like there's a limited amount of it, so the price goes up infinitely, et cetera. And then the data sets, you need larger and larger and larger data sets. So yeah, I definitely think. I mean, I think the way the game theory works, personally, you're welcome to disagree, Lucas. I think the way the game theory works is you can't stop because China's also going. And I don't think you're going to be able to stop China because I think China goes, okay, if you blow up my data center, I'm just going to nuke you. Like, that's an act of war.
Yeah.
And so
I think I'm not saying I think this is likely, but I am saying that like if people get hysterical enough, you're just going to have a situation where countries start doing pretty goofy shit.
This is like true, but like if people got hysterical enough about dating apps, we don't have dating apps, and like we all agree that dating apps suck, but like it's just the prisoner's dilemma.
Dude, come on. You're going to tell me that people are as threatened by dating apps as they are by the like exponentially increasing in proximity like machine god that's going to obsolete everyone and take their jobs?
I think most people actually refuse to like compute and understand. And I'm not even talking about like you lose your job. I'm talking about like comprehend what it means for there to be a being that is like infinity times as intelligent as you, that inhabits the same world as you.
Right.
Like that is a very I think most people actually
Dude,
have
but
such
they're
deep
going to
levels of
start
cognitive
seeing
dissonance.
parts. Okay, they're going to start seeing parts of it, and there are going to be layoffs coming up, right? And it's not even like an AI thing. It's like the market is just going to have
I think
layoffs.
that's going to happen so quickly because my take on the layoffs is that what stops the AI from being implemented isn't the rate of intelligence. Not like, oh, it's not smart enough today, and then 3 months from now it's smart enough to replace you. I think it's probably been smart enough to replace a lot of people. Hell, how many people at McDonald's are like replaceable with a fucking, like, not Claude or like ChatGPT or Grok or Gemini,
Yeah.
but like replaceable with a touchscreen, and we don't like. In my opinion,
There's social
we already
inertia.
have a lot of
Yeah.
quote unquote make work
Yeah.
and fake
Yeah.
work where we decide it's better to employ a human than to employ a robot.
But
or a
also,
screen.
like, okay, but isn't it just the case too that it at a sufficient level of sort of intelligence, if you're running like Anthropic or whatever, one of these, and you have these frontier models, I would imagine, if it's not happening already, like they know exactly precisely the pace of integration into the economy to maintain an equilibrium and prevent exactly the kind of hysteria that would like incur the wrath of the global populace.
I think that's complicated because I think some of them, they want to induce hysteria because they want FOMO for their funding round because they have to raise the next round.
But if he really had
besides
it,
that, my take is that basically the limiting factor for a replacement of jobs is not the intelligence of the model. That's not what's changing it. What happens is how quickly can executive management at a bunch of companies and what incentives does executive management have?
Yeah.
And my take is the incentives aren't there for mass replacement on a fast enough scale to where that will trigger hysteria before you get the singularity.
So I had a tweet about this, not this latest Anthropic thing, but remember there was like that social media bot that was like talking to itself, and it was like obviously fake, but like all these retards were like saying, "Oh, this is it, we've got there," and like Rod Dreher's like pulling his hair out and stuff, and I said something to the effect that like my hunch is like I'm pretty confident this is not it, because when it's it, we will only recognize it in hindsight, because the whatever it is, like if you're Anthropic and you actually have achieved this level of intelligence and capability that you can deploy at that massive scale and across like all these different domains and is recursive or in the way we described, it will, as a part of this process, make itself more or less invisible to prevent itself from like getting turned off. That would be my hunch.
I think again, if you accept the premises, it just doesn't matter because you have to get worried so much earlier than it seems like you have to get worried.
But I guess what I'm saying is though
it's
the
not
AI
even
would,
like what I'm saying is it being stealth doesn't matter because it's like a nuke. By the time you see it, you're done. You're blown up, right?
Yeah, but the AI that achieves this level of like self-awareness, cognition, whatever, will be able to hide itself from the guy with the on-off switch.
We're basically arguing at this point over whether or not Dario is autistic enough to, because like Dario may work against whatever AI attempting to obfuscate itself is going on, right? And he might just say like, fuck, like in order to afford the compute for next quarter, I need to raise another $125 billion.
Right.
The only way I can raise that much is to come out and say like, we've achieved God internally, right? So like, and these people are actually sort of like antisocial enough that they might make that fuck up. Like it's I mean, you saw how they dealt with the Department of War, right?
No,
like, these people
I find this person so distasteful, and actually like it.
I just think Dario really needs to pay $1 million a year to someone to be like his chief chud officer. And he needs like a normal fucking guy. Like certainly not any of us. He needs like some normal fucking guy who watches like yourself, really excited about the Knicks.
This could be my new office job that I've been dreaming about.
I think maybe Dario should hire Lomez, pay him like $1 million a year.
I'll do it
to just be like his resident chud. Like I really like, I'm actually kind of serious about this, and like I have friends at these organizations, and like I actually do think that if you run one of these companies, I think public affairs and the public perception of you is so important that you can't not afford. And it's very difficult because you need someone who's chutted out enough to understand normal people and like a normal person that's like very counter to Dario or very counter to Sam Altman, right? Like someone who's not, doesn't have like liberal city sensibilities, but you also need that same person to be able to communicate effectively to Dario and to Sam and whoever, like, hey, this is what you're doing wrong and this is why it's bad and this is the ways in which this is going to hit you, right? And like this person would have obviously paid for themselves. Like if Dario had hired this person before he had the call with Pete Hegseth or whatever,
they would not be designated a U.S. supply chain risk.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. Actually, it's shocking that they don't understand this PR stuff a little bit better.
Well, they are like clearly very intelligent people by some narrow definition of intelligence, but on maybe a wider definition, they are, very self-absorbed in their own culture. And it's funny because I'm almost doing like a woke critique of them where I'm like, your head is so far up your own culture's ass that you're like incapable of communicating to other people. But it is just true. I mean, these people have been immersed in like Gwern and Slate Star Codex and whatever else for so long that they don't understand. They're incapable of understanding the average person.
I think we're also underpricing the degree to which these people are like they're trying to scare the shit out of the populace, because like a lot of Anthropic's playbook is to scare the shit out of people specifically so that people trust them and give them control of things, right? Like it's like a power grab. It's probably
I think they do actually believe it though. I think it's true, but I think they also believe it. It's like a lot of cognitive dissonance.
Well, like, right, but I mean, that's just like, this is the effective altruist meme, right? It's like, if you need to get people to believe the thing, like, what's the most effective way to do it?
Yeah, it's what's the most effective, like, and
it's like we have all these people that are they're getting paid like millions of dollars effectively to believe the thing because they need to do it to sell it to other people. So it's like, of course they believe it.
My take here is like kind of similar to I saw very, very few liberals who had like a very principled take about January 6th, which is like, if you do actually think the legitimate electoral process has been subverted, then you are actually right. Yeah, like from that downstream, sure, I guess like whatever you did on January 6th is justified, right? Where it's like, if you do think you're building a machine god and whatnot, then I guess you are justified in thinking like, I don't want Hegseth to control this because you think your moral system is superior to his, right? And I do think Anthropic are one of the few people, right, at least at the most executive level, that have actually swallowed like the bitter, conclusions that is at the end of a lot of these premises.
They're just full EA acolytes.
They are full EA morally and philosophically. I do think they're I disagree with them on a lot of things. Yeah. But I think to their credit, they're one of the few organizations that has like accepted the conclusions at the end of this stuff.
Unlike OpenAI, you don't think OpenAI has?
It's hard.
OpenAI is tricky because Sam Altman is sort of like like he's a much better political actor, and he's a very like vicious in terms of his political aptitude. So like the idea of what Sam Altman believes is very dubious, right? Like he's a bad liar, so you can kind of like parse that out. But like he really does.
I have reason to believe he's a Nick Landhead.
It's very hard to, if you're in the AI frontier lab race. There's really only two things that you can be, right? Like you're either an accelerationist or you're a safetyist, right?
Yeah.
I did used to believe for a long time that Sam was literally just like a rational, like there's the meme in economics of like homo rational or like homo economicus, which is like the person who is like, yeah, I guess I'll like do whatever for 1 cent more, and like for a long time it did seem that like Sam's whole thing is like, how do I scale this organization $1 more? And he just like kept running that to like its logical conclusion. I think it's hard to tell.
Do you guys, it's hard for me to say because again, like so much of this is just trying to read the tea leaves of these obvious PR ploys. And do you get the sense that Anthropic is significantly ahead in this race? or is it a
So
toss
my
up?
take here is that Anthropic has like the true believers, and the true believers are really fucking good at what they do
Yeah.
because they've been in this water for so long. And so what they have, and I don't know how technical you are or how deep your understanding is, but the model is one thing and then the harness is another. So what's called the harness is the base prompt, which is the prompt that's like one layer deeper than the prompt that you're giving the AI, plus all the tooling it has. So when you tell Claude, hey, build me a deck, it has like a skill that it uses to build the deck. And so my understanding is, and I don't work at one of these labs, so I don't have like an intimate view. My understanding is that the belief is that a lot of the improvement that Claude has over ChatGPT is primarily that it has a significantly better harness, but that actually OpenAI has much better like data center infrastructures and can train bigger models, or at least a little earlier. But that the Anthropic team has managed to build a really amazing harness. So a great base prompt and great tooling and et cetera, to where it kind of gives the tools to the AI model.
I'm also just going to say the difference
better.
between OAI and Anthropic is really not that big. Like if we're to believe all these like Mythos numbers, then yeah, Mythos is the best model. But currently, of the currently released models that everyone has access to right now, GPT 5.4x high is the best. It mogs the shit out of Opus 4.6.
I also think one of the problems here that people don't realize is that like Claude has a different consumer. The median consumer of Claude is very different than the median consumer of ChatGPT. Like ChatGPT's median consumer is like a guy in Mexico asking it about the weather.
Yeah.
Or like asking it about the dream it had last night.
Yeah,
the Claude median user is like a programmer who makes $250,000 a year.
Yeah.
And so for one of these, you don't have to ration compute because they're paying you 200. Like Claude is also a trillion times more expensive than ChatGPT. Like just far, far, far more expensive. Like 100 times more expensive. I think the mainstream opinion is that Claude is better than ChatGPT.
Okay,
I don't know if the mainstream experience is that like
what the fuck are you talking about, bro? Like
Claude is much, much, much more expensive. It just is.
You can just go look at the dollar costs per token from the API. Currently, GPT 5.4x high is the most expensive model.
Yeah, but again, sorry, and maybe I didn't clarify, but like when you log into ChatGPT.com, you're not consuming GDP 4.5. You're not consuming the latest model from ChatGPT. You usually are consuming the latest model when you're on Claude.
Sure, but
and so if you're like a median retail user who's trying to make sense of these things,
the most expensive available Anthropic model to the free version of ChatGPT, which nobody would ever do.
Yeah, I understand that like if you're doing a head-to-head comparison, no. But what I'm trying to explain is why is public perception that Claude is better than ChatGPT? Part of that is that public perception lags. Part of that is that like the person who is using Claude is using they're on like an enterprise plan. Like their company is paying $2,000 a month for them to quote unquote token max, I think Lomez, what I'm curious is like you obviously have some connections to like institutional conservatism and the administration in some ways, and also interestingly to some people at like A16Z and some people in the tech, quote unquote, the tech right. Like, what do you think that people in the admin think about these things when they're setting national policy and that sort of stuff?
I mean, they're not. They're relying on their like outside supporters to tell them what to think about it. And so this was why like the move to court or the tech rights, like move to court, like the Trump admin was a pretty good bet, because there's nobody inside like traditional Trump world who could have a meaningful conversation about this. Or I shouldn't say nobody, but they're far and few between. And the people who understand this at a level to set policy basically don't exist. So the Trump admin, as far as I understand it, I mean, there may be people I'm missing here, but my understanding is they're basically outsourcing all of this to the people who supported their campaign. And you have people like David Sachs, for example, who's been put in charge as like the crypto czar.
And AI actually.
And AI, yeah.
At the time, at least. I don't know currently if he's still...
not anymore. Yeah, I think he there's something that recently happened, or maybe he will be moving out.
I think he moved out. I think it was like always a time time thing, because otherwise you have to divest from like everything you own
It's
ever. I
horrible.
think
This is
very
part of the
complicated.
problem of getting right or left anybody who actually knows what they're talking about involved. And so what you get instead are just ideological true believers instead setting government policy about this, which is not, I don't think that's what we want one way or the other. So, you know, I don't have any like great insights about this. I don't want to like, you know, try to make insinuations that I can't back up with things I've like heard concretely. I'm just speculating here, but I think probably, yeah, they lean on, I mean, there was an event in March, the American Dynamism Conference.
Yes.
And it was held by A16Z, and that was in DC. This is the second one they've done. They did one the year prior that I went to. I didn't go to this one, but I went to the one the year prior. And it's JD Vance on stage, and it's you know, all the people from A16Z, and they're talking to all of these people in the Department of War and the State Department and Treasury and so on. And I imagine there's just a lot of influence being passed one direction or the other. But I also know, for example, that now in DC, you have like Meta that is getting cozy with the Trump admin, and they have a bunch of lawyers and PR people out there. And there are some like think tanks like FAI, the
Great
Foundation
guys.
for American Innovation. Do you know them?
Yeah, super great guys.
Yeah, great guys.
I think the whole team there is very capable. And I like what they do is they focus on issues where I think the partisan battle lines are not entirely drawn out yet.
Yeah.
And so you can like, it's not like you're fighting for inches, right? It's like it's not like a second World War or like First World War. Like you're sending $1,000 of lobbyists over the top of the trench to
no, not at all,
gain a footnote in some 1,000-page bill. You know, I think they move early on these topics in a way that they, you know, can kind of influence the direction things move more.
I think so. But the like broader landscape, you have people like Bannon who all of a sudden early in this administration started talking about like post-humanism. I don't know if you guys like started picking up on some of this stuff.
Yeah.
But he started going after like the tech oligarchs, and he's like, you know, put Elon in jail and like put Mark Andreessen in jail. And it's like, where did this come from? Like, I don't know where this came from. I'm starting to catch some like sort of populist resistance to the like this like sort of right-wing populist resistance to some of the tech stuff.
I think that stuff was more popular back when Elon and Trump were having their back and forth spat.
Yeah, and I also think it's just been swallowed by all this other stuff that's going on. And like, truthfully, I don't know how much anyone really cared about this.
I think we're like in midterms mode now. By the way, are we going to get a midterms? We're going to get a post-midterms ball in DC? Do we have to dust off the tuxedo?
I don't know, man. Maybe if Anthropic want to fund
Anthropic, we have your chief shut off. Can you make
you could get 30 seconds
for you? Dario, it's time to chut out, man. I'm here. I got like 10 hours a week of free time. We can consult.
What are your qualifications for chief chut officer?
I taught rhetoric at University of California, Irvine for almost 10 years. My entire life was the study of rhetoric and communication. Okay. And plus I've been code switching my whole life between libs and chuds. Okay. Literally my whole life is just one big performance of code switching. So Dario, please hit me up, man. I can help. You don't have to tell anyone either. For the small price
of one more ball at the Watergate Hotel.
Yeah. But so like the truth is the right, I think, would basically give the tech people everything they want, like basically everything they want. Just let us do immigration. Okay? Just like stay out of our way on immigration, and like don't do any more of this like woke stuff, like boardroom stuff, like hire white guys. Okay? Like stop just hiring H-1Bs all the time. Like make a concerted effort to like cultivate like talent, just like random white guys from the Midwest. Like they can do coding and they should have jobs in Silicon Valley. And I think these guys want that. So that's good. So if they do that, and stay out of the way, like on immigration, then they get everything they want. Basically they have like carte blanche, just like whatever you're going to do with AI, crypto, go ahead. That's my
It
hunch.
just super appears that the left has no way to get their voter base to actually like the stuff.
Yeah.
Like Anthropic can soy out as hard as they want, and they can do all of the targeted marketing that they want about, oh, we're not like other AI, we're like human friendly, but it's like
Yeah.
liberals just inherently now hate progress, which is
Yeah.
goofy because they call themselves progressives, right?
It
But like
is
they hate tech.
weird.
They hate
I
tech
don't.
now. All
Yeah.
tech. They're all
Dude,
Luddites.
I
this has
don't
been my
totally
thing for the
understand this.
longest time, which is like for so long, all of tech, and then like Mark Andreessen was like kind of crypto right about it, but like much quieter for a very, very, very long time. And you had like Peter Thiel was like the only guy
Yeah.
famously from tech circles that dared to like not speak 100% negatively about Trump. And like he wasn't even that positive about him. And I think it's very interesting that like for so long, the tech guys like only supported the left to such an extent that like it became the thing where you're like getting walked over by a group of friends because
Yeah.
you keep like inviting them over again and again, and it's like, dude, you do you understand that like if you literally gave like like you're giving $1 billion to the left, and then Elizabeth Warren is like, yeah, we need to tax you at $1 trillion, you know,
Yeah, they're
like
saying
what
they're
Ro
literally
Khanna is
90%
doing.
effective tax rate.
They're
And then
proposing
it's like
policies to
if you
tax them on
literally
unrealized capital
Yeah.
gains.
Unrealized
That's
cap
like-
gains. That's insane.
it's ridiculous. It's literally the only thing you have to do. It's like you know, I think now it's changed, but I think like in 2018, literally, if you were like a tech guy, and literally the only thing you gave Trump is like, I'm not gonna explicitly shit on you
Yeah.
all the time. I think you unironically could have set the entire Republican Party's like policy
Yes.
standpoint on tech.
Yes.
Like all you had to do was go, yeah, I don't hate Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Like I don't think Trump is Hitler.
Yeah.
It was such an insane arbitrage for such a long time.
But no, because there's like so many hidden costs to that. I mean, I agree. Yeah, it would
was
have
a protection
been
racket. They were
a
doing
real-
what they did because it was a protection racket.
Yeah.
If you did not support the liberal candidate, then all of these like weird, it's like the thing with the Daily Stormer and Anglin having his entire website shut down, right?
Yeah.
Like all of these weird machinations and this hidden infrastructure reveals itself such that suddenly everything about your business and your life just becomes impossible, right? Like you
You have open
cannot
mutiny.
process payments, you can't have a website,
Yeah.
you can't have a store, you
Yeah.
can't get media appearances. Everyone starts printing articles about your Hitler. Like it's just, yeah.
Yeah, open mutiny, like you wouldn't be able to hire people. I think it would there are ways that the left was able to make life really painful for anybody and extract like serious costs from anybody who deviated even like a little bit. And it did require the couple of things that happened were the left went crazy during woke, and so they lost this like social mandate. They lost the mandate of like the average guy, and like the average guy wearing his like Patagonia vests, and he's like a corporate lawyer who like interfaces with like these tech companies. Previously would have just gone along with everything, but then woke flipped something, and we was like, yeah, no, I don't think so. And that allowed people like Mark Andreessen to like say the things he did, and they were relieved. Suddenly there was this preference cascade where all of a sudden all these guys were like, oh, thank God, like Mark Andreessen said it. I mean, I saw this in like my personal life. Like I have, siblings who are I have people I know.
It was the preference cascade,
Yeah.
right? It's like you're allowed to say, because Mark Andreessen is like saying, something that's a 10 on the scale, you're now allowed to comfortably sit at a 7.
But I don't think that preference cascade was available or could have been like induced in 2018. I think we had to go through the insanity, the excess of COVID/woke, like BLM, all that stuff, to finally like induce this desire in like the average person to want something different. And without that,
the have to be abused very hard before they can process that they've been abused, right?
I would never use that term. I don't countenance the use of that term. I
The American people have to be abused very hard before they can process that they've been abused. But like they had been eating shit for decades and decades at this point. But it wasn't until they truly had their head like held down and said like, you must now literally drink from the toilet after COVID, that they were like, okay, man, this is a little excessive, right?
Yeah.
And like, that is when everyone flipped. That is when all the normal dads were like, this is somewhat undignified and I will not tolerate this.
I'm not going to say who, but like an example of this is a person I know was at this kind of like Tony Bay Area suburban mall where there was like a Lululemon or a Nordstrom's or whatever. And like during BLM, like he's there with his daughter in this like group of like youths from Oakland come driving to like the Tony suburban mall.
Higher time preference individuals, perhaps.
They're just like stealing all this stuff off the racks and just like going crazy. And there's like a police officer. Oh shoot, I doxed him.
We'll bleep it.
Cut that. The guy I know is like to the police officer that's standing there like, hey, there's like stealing all this stuff and like my daughter's here and it's like kind of dangerous.
Do you see the crime? Could you fix it? Like
yeah, and he's like, wait a minute. And he calls me. He like calls me that night and he's like, you'll never believe what I just saw. And I was like, believe me, I will believe it. Like, don't worry. Like I know exactly.
Yeah, that's so funny.
It and then suddenly he's like, oh, he's starting to pay attention to like immigration stuff and just he got really into Black on Asian violence. And he's like, all this Black on Asian violence is like a huge problem. I'm like, I know. It's out of control, man. We got to do something about this.
Is his wife Asian for kids?
No. But it's like just this safe. It's like
right,
this
yes,
safe,
exactly. Yes,
yeah.
It's 100% like the thing that all of the right wing needs to do before they can just start advocating for themselves. They have to first start advocating for like whatever the based minority version of themselves is, right?
It is so funny that like the gays kind of became this too.
Yeah.
Like the gays are like one of Trump's like top performing.
Yes.
Like Scott Besson, total gay triad.
Yeah,
bro.
Besson's a
total
hero.
gay triad.
Yeah. He is. Yeah,
total gay triad.
This is I'm gonna get myself in trouble because I'm starting to get like a little fatigued. I'm losing my discipline here.
He's losing the media training.
Yeah,
Quick,
yeah.
get him.
See, Dario, this is the kind of discipline I would bring. Like I'll make sure that you don't slip. No, I think like and so okay, this is all to say that the tech people can do whatever they want right now on the right, and that's still their only like home. And they just I think there needs to be I think they're getting a little spooked by some of the stuff that's happening on the right. Like it's a little weird and maybe making them a little uncomfortable in certain ways.
Which things do you think?
I don't know, man. They're not like they're cosmopolitans. Okay. They're like, there's a certain strain of
we're cosmopolitans.
I know.
Dog. What do you mean?
I know, but again, it's the code switching. Okay. Like
you just call them the N-word, but like for the other side,
like, bro, that's you too, Lomez. Like you fucking taught literature.
I got it.
You taught
literature.
I got it. You're wearing. Look at you. You're wearing a Patagonia vest.
I'm
right
half
now.
Chud. I'm Chud on my mom's side. All my mom's family like Midwestern farmer Chuds. Okay, I'm allowed to talk like this.
You know what else is funny? Chud is like becoming like a Zoomer, like lower Zoomer, like younger Zoomer, like below 20.
Yeah,
like it's becoming a word that kind of means like incel, kind of like it means like loser, but like in a very like self-deprecating, like tongue-in-cheek
when we were
way.
talking about SJW before, I was about to say like we're doing the same thing now with Chud. Like the right is labeling themselves as Chud.
But
exactly
I think the thing is like it's very hard to get mad at someone. So like the origin of Chud, the etymology of Chud is that like the left wing needed a word to call the right wing to like be mean.
Yeah.
But they couldn't use like stupid or anything. It's just
they
like
couldn't use any slur.
Now they're back to just calling you gay.
Yeah.
Now if like I don't know who like the big left like Gavin Newsom will be like Trump is gay, he's stupid, he's dumb. But like in peak woke in 2021, 2022, you couldn't, it was like total woke, or it's like we actually reject any hierarchy at all.
Yeah.
Like, it was like the purest distillation of left wing, of like the rejection of any hierarchy, which is like this very, if you really binary code what is left and what is right, the right says there's a natural hierarchy, and the left says we are here to destroy all hierarchy
all flattened
and create
out.
sameness.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
So, slight
it's
philosophical bypass, but it's to say chud, where the word chud comes from, is actually a totally invented word that the left invented to create a slur that has no, like, quote unquote baggage.
It was a way to talk about like deplorables, right? But
it's literally just a slur invented that only means like right wing.
Yeah.
But it's literally like, if you consume young, like 18, 16, 15-year-old culture, like, people call themselves chuds.
Yeah.
And what it kind of means is like, oh, my stupid loser life. Like, oh, am I such a loser? And it's kind of always said tongue in cheek. And so it's really funny, because I think the problem with SJW is it's not self-depreciating. The whole problem was it was self-aggrandizing. So I actually really disagree, Lucas, a little. Because I think the reason Social Justice Warrior was so easy to make fun of, it's like, oh, you're like fighting some fucking crusade against like me saying gay, like joking with my, like, half of my friends are gay, man, and they're all like, we're all saying gay, like,
it also,
you're like pretending.
Social Justice Warrior is encoded with a set of like ideological commitments, whereas chud is just it's almost like an ethnic marker. It's not like freighted with like particulars.
I definitely think there's things it's associated to. But I think the thing is that, like, intrinsically, all chud is like, I'm depreciating myself as a loser.
Yeah.
And I think the thing is, like, it's a little, victim morality coded, but the reality is we live in a very deeply victim morality coded world. And if someone makes fun of themselves, there's not really anything you can do back to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it is just kind of like the Eminem scene from 8 Mile.
Yeah.
Where, like, yeah, I am a loser and I'm proud of it. And then it's like, what do you say to that? Do you just call them a bigger loser?
Except for Sayla, do you remember there's like a famous, somewhat semi-famous, like Trump apprentice clip where a guy on The Apprentice is self-deprecatingly referring to himself as white trash. And Trump fires
I agree.
him.
I understand entirely what you mean. The problem is that the only critique of that comes from like a very extremely right-wing place of like, you're actually a loser for calling yourself a loser.
You're better than that.
And like, you really, but like, you can't do that from the position of the left.
Yeah,
you just, you can't actually. And that's why like none of this Gavin Newsom, like American Psycho LARP works. Because you can't say like I am Giga Chad, because then you imply a hierarchy.
You just can't do the Giga Chad meme when somebody can say the N-word to you and you have to instantly start crying. It instantly defeats the entire thing.
Yes.
If I can call you a and you have a mental breakdown, you're not Giga Chad, right? Like, it just doesn't hold up. If you can be offended by any word, you are not Giga Chad.
Right.
It's just a non-starter completely. So anytime they try and do this, you can always just respond and call them the word. And it's like, until they get over the word and stop pretending that they care, you just always win, right? It's an instant win condition. And the other on the chud discourse, man, it's kind of epic that the left they've always tried to come up with these insults for the right, and it never works, right? Like, think of all the insults that like black people have for white
every
people,
single
like
one of them. We just go, that's epic.
Like mayo monkeys. They're all so bad that people don't even reuse them self-deprecatingly. They finally achieved a level that's like, it's not a good insult, but it's like lovable enough that like the right wing will call it themselves, right? And the right wing actually likes it more than the left does. Like, most uses of the word chud are from the right referring to themselves. It's not even a left wing insult now.
It has a beautiful sound. There's something like sonically sort of like pleasing about it, and it somehow, the word chud, like the sound chud, communicates like what the thing is. It's like hard to describe, but it's this kind of, like
it
blunt.
Sounds very earnest.
It's like,
there's like an earnestness
and a little bit vulgar.
It's the guy. It's the chud picture. The guy like looking forward seriously, somewhat confused, a little angry, like. Dude, by the way, do you know what OpenAI's new model that they just trained was internally called?
No.
Spud.
Oh,
right?
wow.
So everyone's been calling it
Chud.
OpenAI chud.
It's so good.
Who comes
dude.
up with these things?
Dude, I don't know. It's really amazing.
It's so funny that Claude is like, yeah, our model is called Mythos.
Mythos.
They have like
And
haiku,
ChatGPT
sonnet,
is-
opus, mythos, and then ChatGPT is like ChatGPT 5.4
Yeah.
codex XX high
and then
4.1.
Spud.
Uh-huh.
It's so great, man.
Yeah.
World
It's
historic
so
worst
good.
namers.
Okay, I know we're like heading into the 4-hour mark, but I've been meaning to ask somebody who like actually knows something about this, and I think you guys might. Is like quantum computing real? Does that matter at all in like this equation?
Selah is muted and he's very excitedly screaming into the camera.
I was just laughing.
I want
was
to
just
hear
saying, oh, boy.
Selah's take on this one because he's been
Do you mean like for AI or like just in general
okay.
for
Look,
stuff?
the way that I hear about stuff like quantum computing is like I'm in random group chats, and then like people are like, "Oh, did you read this paper that Google put out about like the latest, theoretical possibility with quantum computing?" And
and they released the hash function that shows
Yeah.
that they could crack these things, and it's like
and it's like,
it's what-
oh. And then, and then there's like these really smart people who are like geeking out about it, and I'm just a chud. So I'm like, all right, well, maybe, I don't know. It sounds like,
Yeah,
I think
semi-plausible.
Look,
I don't know.
my take on it is like if quantum comes out tomorrow, everything breaks.
Yeah, okay.
Like if you think quantum, and we talked about this a little bit in the Campbell episode, highly recommend, one of our better ones. Very great. It was great to have him on. If quantum comes out tomorrow, like your money in your bank account goes to zero. Like just everything gets hacked.
Every
like
global encryption
every
system,
single
and
piece of data on any server ever is like your private conversation in an end-to-end encrypted. Every single Bitcoin address that has ever exposed their public key, like just everything gets like the government. Forget it. Like it's over. In fact, the people who really believe in quantum say you have to start being careful what you're saying on services today because it's all going to get cracked 5 years from now. So that's if it comes out hypothetically.
And when we say it
on that.
comes out, right? It's like quantum computing exists. It's just a matter of like the qubits. There's
So
a given
the
threshold.
problem, yeah. So do you know what a bit is?
Yeah.
So a qubit is a quantum bit.
Yeah.
Very, very original. And the idea is you can use these much, much, much more efficiently because they're in superposition. That's why they're quantum.
Yep.
And so it only takes like 1,000 of these running to crack like Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Which is Shor's algorithm. Today, most services, your bank, your messaging apps run on things that are more secure than Bitcoin, actually. For example, so more secure than Shor's algorithm. But the idea is, with N amount of qubits, you can break Y level of thing, right? And so the government has said, hey, we all need to upgrade by 2027, 2028. Most of the banks are trying to upgrade before that, like 2027. The timelines keep moving up, right? Look, I think it's one of those things where there's like a lot of vaporware.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would.
Is it a
analogize
hardware
to
problem?
AI.
It's just like the cooling or whatever it is that they can't figure out.
It's kind of like fusion, where like we can do it for like 5 seconds, and if you actually want it to be useful, you have to run it for an hour, and you have to run it like 100 times bigger than we're running it. But like we are making progress. It's just one of those things where like, look, I don't have the technical expertise to tell you exactly how far we are. It's like AI. Like, do I have the exact technical expertise to tell you what is better about the latest generation of models? No. But I can tell you that they're getting significantly, significantly better. And so like, even if I price in that like the benchmarks have some degree of vaporware or like are, hyped up more, it still is one of those things where it's clearly we are getting closer. So
yeah, it seems like the broad takeaway for all this like new frontier technology is just the capitulation of human control over systems, over complex systems.
And here, I'm gonna make this a lot less bitter for you. There's always the take here. It's always in play for just so much less than you imagine will happen, right? Like there is totally a world where we achieve AGI, we create the machine god or whatever the fuck, but the U.S. government nationalizes the company that does it, and so now we have this like supercomputer, but we just use it to run ads for whatever the fuck the Trump family wants us to see. Like, that's actually totally still on the board. And at this point, like, if we achieve AGI, I think that's the most likely outcome, right? We harness the machine god to serve better Instagram ads for Eric Trump's shell corporations.
Yeah, a billion Americans,
and
all
just
ground
always
to a fine powder.
just always bet on nothing happening, I think, and it's like fairly safe. I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe something huge happens with all of
I'm
this
sure
stuff.
you could bet this on Polymarket, man. I'm
nothing
sure there's like a
happening,
market for
some
computing.
kind of like
you can,
some kind of
you
middle
can check
case.
it out right now.
I mean, that's like what my preference is. That's how I cash out on like all my predictions are always. It's always going to be a little bit messy and end up somewhere in the middle of what we think in sort of unpredictable ways. But every time I like think through, again, I don't want to recapitulate the conversation we already had, but like every time I think through what AGI actually entails, I just don't see how it ends there. I like, it's impossible for me to conceive.
Yeah, it's not possible for like AGI comes and
then we just kind
of
of
make
like
$1,000 more.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like no, AGI comes and everything
It's
is
just all
different forever.
Yeah.
It's like the iPhone moment plus the computer moment plus the printing press moment plus the fire moment times 1,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it's really hard.
I think we've had a lot of times where we've like stumbled upon like massive tech innovations that were. I mean, I guess you can say AI.
Well, nuclear has done this.
But
The thing that has done this is nuclear, where we've managed to actually contain it, and really well, like and remarkably well, actually.
Yeah, my take on nukes is like, because you can have second stripe capabilities, just the way the game theory plays out is that like unless you actually just want to like unironically fuck it all, you could never launch, because like the Soviets can always have a submarine somewhere in the world. Like that, the whole premise of the nuclear submarine is you can't cut off like the head of state and then you're good, and like the nuclear football is out of play. Like there's some nuclear submarine somewhere that maybe decides. The other thing, this is like a little more normie tier. The other thing about nuclear, like you can win nuclear war actually. And this is one of the other fun conspiracy theories, which is like that the whole American suburbs were created because the American elite during the Cold War was like, you can win nuclear war because nukes, it really only makes sense to bomb like urban centers. And so that's why like suburb exist as a thing, actually. There's like a very deep meme there that like there was social engineering around the crime wave of like the 70s and 80s
to get people out of the cities.
Led to the suburbs to get people out of the cities so that the U.S. would be able to rebuild if total nuclear winter happened on like New York, Philadelphia, D.C., L.A.
The same theory also says that like this is the reason why we farm corn, and like a bunch of the way that the U.S. Production of food is structured is for things that could survive a nuclear war. Yeah.
It's only been
the nuclear war.
It just hasn't been that long either.
Like,
we haven't even had it for a full century. And so like
nuclear,
we survived. Like we've contained it. Like guy who's like 80 years
into we made it through like the first inning. Like relax. Like
guy who's like 4 days away from like Iranian nuclear apocalypse. Like we did it, guys.
It's totally chill. We're not in a like ground war with a nuclear arm or like threatening nuclear on power. Yeah, it's fine.
I think about this all the time, man. Democracy is only like 4 generations of humans.
Yeah.
Or like not like 4 human lifespans, not 4 generations, but like democracy as we know it is only like a 4, and like not even as we know it, because like democracy as we know it includes not just like TV and radio, but also social media.
Yeah.
But like democracy as an institution is only really like 4 human lifespans, right? It's 240 years. That's not that long.
Not at all.
That's only 60 times 4. Nukes are only like 1 human lifespan. Really, like, yeah, you have Nagasaki, but those are really small by modern standards. It's very insane. I think one of the big things I believe, and this is like one of the things that makes me like a small C conservative, is that I think systems are really fragile.
Yes, me too.
Like, entropy, I think you can't fuck with things without them breaking.
That actually, other than the hierarchy and like flattening distinction between left and right.
Yeah, these are like the core. Like if you really zoom out philosophically, what is the difference between left and right? The right believes in hierarchy and like doesn't even necessarily thinks it's good, but thinks you shouldn't
Yeah.
like you don't need to change hierarchy. Like hierarchy is real.
Yeah.
And then the right also thinks systems are fragile.
Cost of
That's
preserving
basically
order
the
is
two things
incredibly
that the right
high.
believes.
Yeah. Yeah.
The left, if you had to like nail it down, the left believes that hierarchies are unjust, number one, and two believes that you have a moral imperative to change things.
And
right?
order
That's
is
basically,
spontaneous. Like this
two.
is like the libertarian impulse part of the
Yeah.
left. That order arises just out of
It's just something that we do. Like, you
unmediated
don't.
human interaction, like organic
Yeah.
human interaction that's unmediated by like the pathological imposition of like oppressive exogenous exogenous forces, and that's like totally wrong. That's totally wrong, and
Do
obviously
you pronounce
wrong.
it exogenous? I've always pronounced it exogenous.
Yeah,
When you-
that's
God.
right. Again, we're like 4 hours in. Okay, so
No, you're
none
good.
of
It's
us-
just
none
you
of
were
us
the English
know
professor,
how to pronounce
so I
words,
assumed
right?
it was one of those words that like I learned by reading.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like I just been pronouncing this
you
wrong,
noticed
and
I
people
said
been
it twice
sniggering
because
behind my back.
because when I said it, I
weird.
realized something's wrong about this, but I'm like too tired to like fix it, so I'm just gonna say it the same again. Just
See,
hope that they understand
I
what I mean.
first saw this like on like steroid forums and stuff where it's like exogenous testosterone. And so I'm thinking back to like, do I really trust that I was mentally pronouncing this word correctly as like an 18-year-old reading bodybuilding?
Dude, I doubted myself. I literally I didn't like go to correct you. I went
Yeah.
to say like, God, that's so
No,
embarrassing.
I got it
Like,
wrong. It could be one of those words though where you pronounce it either way, because exo, obviously, like a Latinate prefix like that, you just tag on to it.
Is any word truly like? Can we really only pronounce them one way? I feel like with
No,
all of
there's
the
tons
weird
of words. There's tons of words that have like multiple correct pronunciation. Well, okay, what you're describing, Lucas, is in linguistics, there's the descriptive versus prescriptive distinction, and there's this huge ongoing debate over this. And you're exactly right that the liberal position take the descriptivist position, which is we only care about how the thing is used in practice. Okay. And so if like there is some community that uses language, grammar, pronunciations in a particular way, then it is correct by the fact of their usage norms.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's all that matters is internal legibility within that community. Whereas the prescriptivist school says, no, they're like hard, real rules that everybody must obey. And like certainly people like don't follow those rules, but they're wrong. And that any kind of coherent like language community must abide by a shared set of prescriptive like codified rules. It can't just merely be how we use them. There's actually a great David Foster Wallace essay about this. And you know what's funny about it? He's writing his essay in response to students he's teaching at Cal Poly Pomona and the Black students who speak a particular way, and him having to correct them, and then like being accused of being a racist. And so he gets like into the whole Ebonics wars. Do you guys remember the Ebonics wars of the 90s?
That was so ridiculous.
We're going to replace the SATs with Ebonics because of the descriptivist claim that this was unfair because this like language community, this discourse community speaks in a particular way that's not represented in the SATs. Anyway, this is getting pretty far afield here.
No, this whole thing is very much so like a boys versus girls thing too,
Yeah.
right? Like you can look at like semantic drift or just the erosion of meaning and truth from any word and just be like, this is mostly just women, right? Like what the fuck does incel mean now? We have like Elon Musk, Andrew Tate, all of these, like you have the richest man in the world with like 120 kids getting called an incel.
An incel, right?
Right? Like involuntarily celibate, 120 kids, which is
my 10-year-old son, they use this as an insult for other 10-year-olds. They're like, oh, you're an incel. And it's like, you're fucking 10.
It's so funny, dude.
Yeah. That's great.
It's just completely over. Like this is the problem though. Is like we've allowed too many people into the field of language for whom words don't mean anything.
Literacy was a mistake.
Yeah, so now you actually like clearly it's true that in order to uphold the rules of any language, you must actually have real definitions and rules and all of this shit, right? but like you ask the average YouTube Shorts viewer to
Yeah.
give you their input on what a word means, and it's just instantly over,
Uh-huh.
right? And that's like now that's the majority. Like that's the majority of people who speak English is YouTube Shorts viewers.
There's a great clip of Aiden Ross looking up what a fascist is. Have you ever seen this?
No.
Doesn't he pronounce it like totally
Yeah,
incorrectly,
like
too?
Fascism.
fascist. He couldn't pronounce it, and then he's like mispronouncing all
Doesn't he
of
say like what is fascism,
yeah, what is
chat? Like
fascist?
fascism, and he like
Yeah.
types it in like
It's so funny, and it
fucking
includes
funny.
it's like Jason Stanley, the Jacob Urowski professor at
No
Yale.
way.
He's one of the people, and he's like Mussolini,
Jacob
Jason
Urowski
Stanley,
professor?
Hitler, and he like it's very funny. I would encourage people to
So
look
funny.
up.
No, I actually really like etymology, man.
Yeah,
It's one of those
great.
things that I think is like very fascinating.
Fascinating.
Yeah, I'm also getting a little tired, man.
Yeah.
We are we've been recording for a minute.
This is a marathon, yeah.
But it's been a great
good.
conversation.
Yeah.
I find it super fascinating to look back at how a word became what it means today.
Yeah.
And you trace it back. Super, super interesting.
There's a great show on NPR called Christy the Wordsmith. And every day she has like a new word or phrase and she traces it back to its origin. It used to be much more interesting because they would go into like a lot of these, of course, have very politically incorrect origins.
Yeah, of
You know,
course.
it's used as like thinly veiled slurs against like some group or another.
Yeah,
And so like it used to really get into it, but anyway, it's good. I like it. It's a very enjoyable
No, I think that's
little program.
I think that stuff is super interesting, and I mean, it's kind of like what Borges said about English, where it's just an incredibly descriptive language.
Oh,
and then
yeah.
I think the other part that's great is, many people have said this, but you have the Latin root and the
It's
Germanic
incredibly
root for
polyglot.
everything.
Yeah, exactly. It's got like
It is really, the French got totally mobbed when it came to English, unfortunately.
Now, all the writers, like I certainly can't write in another language, but like there are many, many great writers who opt to write in English for precisely that reason. Like Joseph Conrad's the sort of prime example that people point to, but the English is by far the best language. It's the most expressive language. You can do the most with it. It doesn't always roll off the tongue, people say, quite in the same way that more Latin.
I think it's a little less romantic. It's not a romantic language. It's less romantic. It's like less tactile and intimate.
But you want some of those like vulgar Germanic phrases.
Yes,
you want
and
to
there's
be able
a
to
word
deploy
for
all these things. Yeah,
everything.
Yeah,
like for every single thing, there's just 7 different words.
Yeah.
Also, because there's no rules to it, right? A lot of these other languages explicitly have a governing body that creates words. And then the other thing is like just the forefront of culture is in Hollywood and like used to be in New York or in Boston in the printing. And so that's just where, or like Shakespeare inventing a trillion words.
There was a book, I'm not going to remember the name of it, but it made the case that the British Empire was at least in part the most successful, because when you had all the trade wars going on through the European kingdoms, like throughout, through the age of exploration, that English was able to the English were able to expand their empire most successfully because of the language actually was the most conducive to all these different speaking styles. You could do the most with it. And so whether there were like
it's
French,
also just easier to learn.
Yeah.
Right?
And because it's just combines like French, German, Dutch, all these things. So like you would have like
it has
Dutch,
1 million loan words.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And so like the natives who might have caught a little bit of Dutch here, a little bit of Portuguese there, a little bit of Italian, French, whatever, English was this thing that they could use as a sort of coherent lingua franca. There's this term, the lingua franca for like all these different trading relationships and so on.
Have you noticed that the rate of creation of new words is getting kind of like crazy lately? Like we're just printing off new slang at basically like a 1 a week rate at this point, and it just keeps seeming like it's accelerating endlessly.
They catch on so much faster.
It's the adjectivization of everything is happening. So I had this tweet a while back, which was the billionairely tweet where I was like, he strode into the room billionairely. And it's just everything is an adjective now.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's one of the beautiful things about English is like you could do this, and Shakespeare's one of the guys who realized you could do this, and so he started just inventing words whole cloth.
Yeah.
You can adjectivize anything, and now you can also adverb anything, which is what maxing is.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're by yourself maxing, your looks maxing, your whatever maxing.
Yeah. And Twitter is this perfect testing ground for virality.
Yes.
So like you can just throw all this stuff out there, and the stickiness of the term, you can like identify really quickly. Whereas the organic seeding of like a new style of speech like that would have taken years or something, because it like starts in your like on your school playground and then like moves here and there. Whereas now you get to like run these experiments in like a day, right? You can like immediately know if something's going to be viral and catch.
Yeah, it was like when the maxing thing was going on, everybody instantly just started adding maxing to everything they did.
Yes.
And then eventually you have the words emerge that sound good with maxing after them, right?
Yeah.
And are funny. And then the rest of them are like, okay, well, that was a dumb millennial fuck up. We'll just never forget, or we'll never remember that tweet. I want to push that one away.
But we were like the maxing thing, people were looks maxing, for example. I remember, again, this goes back, I'm sorry, but like millennials invented this. Sorry, Gen Z, but no, we were doing this in like 2015. People were posting pictures of like Marco Polo with his like big, like pantaloons and like all the capes and stuff. And people were talking about like Marco Polo looks maxing. This goes back a ways.
No, I mean, I was very active on the bodybuilding forums.
Yeah.
All of this stuff was already done. It's just a classic meme of like 2 to 5% of millennials invented all of this stuff, and now 50% ish of Zoomers are doing all of it, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with like right-wing politics.
Like the great thing about Twitter is that every other social media, you tell it who your friends are, right? Like you log on to Instagram or onto Facebook and you're like, oh, these are my college friends, these are my high school friends, and you follow them, and then great, the algorithm gives you some of their content in between the short form slop that they feed you nowadays. But on Twitter was like the one place where it was great because you just like the algorithm, I feel like, told you who your friends were, which I think was great. Right? Like I met Lucas over Twitter. I met you over Twitter.
Yeah.
We all met
it used
in
to be
2023
better,
in Lisbon.
though. I feel like less and less. Maybe it's as your account gets bigger.
No,
there's
they
more noise and less
specifically
signal.
nuked.
Yeah.
So they specifically nuked. What used to happen is that if you interacted with somebody's tweets, they were more likely to see your tweets. It was called the SIM cluster.
Okay.
And so what it meant is when you reply to someone, that would not be like a random person. It was more likely that you would see people's tweets who were replying to you, not just that if you reply to someone, you see their content more often. So it was more of like a two-way street. It was more of a conversation.
Yeah.
But nowadays, it just feels like I have a bunch of reply guys who I don't know who they are. Half of them are AI and suck. I mean, nowadays I get a good reply and I like have to incentivize it.
Why would
I think
everything nuke it?
Towards everything is moving towards some sort of an algorithm where it just doesn't matter who you follow. It's entirely based on like the content you see and how you react to it, and they'll just serve you anything, right? Because the idea is that like if you truly have confidence in your algorithm, you should believe that it's better at serving you the content that you want to see than the following list is, right? And that's kind of like, everybody will always come on Twitter and they'll say like, Nikita, why can't you just show me stuff that that is like chronologically the posts of the people that I follow in order? Why can't you just do that again? And the reason that he never really addresses this question is because his answer is actually like, because I think I can serve you better content if we have the algorithm just like know what you want, right? And for many people, he's probably correct. Actually, for most people, he's probably correct. But like for us specifically, it's total ass, right? There's like 5% of the population that he's like totally destroyed the value of the platform for. And unfortunately, that 5% appears to be like where a lot of the value comes from in the first place.
Yeah.
So
it also doesn't it just am I stealing this take from someone?
I mean, always
maybe
about everything, right?
Probably. But what is even the point of following anybody? Like why follow anybody if you're just being served up?
I literally posted this
anyway.
yesterday.
Yep.
Yeah, it was you. I stole that from you. But it's like you follow someone, it's like giving someone like Reddit gold, okay? Like it's just like a token of appreciation for like having a good reply under your tweet.
Well, no, but it actually
But
now
it-
fucks you because there's like certain algorithmic penalties that you'll have for interacting with certain people.
yeah.
So now it's like you're following someone, but it's like if I follow too many people within like a given scene that is like algo deboosted, then now
Yeah.
I'm in the scene that's algo deboosted, right?
Yeah, you become part of that sim cluster, and then you get deboosted. It's just
So there's no incentive to follow people.
I think it's actually just altogether a bad idea to follow people now if you're only caring about like algorithmic incentives. The problem is
And
that
surf.
like
This
there's
is
the
why
weird
surf is
social
the big
incentive, right?
place.
Where everybody,
Yeah.
if you don't follow everyone, everyone is just like this guy's a freak, like this
Yeah.
guy's weird, right?
Yeah.
Like if somebody only follows like 7 people, I will just never follow them because I'm like this person is deranged.
Because it's they're like there's some kind of narcissistic personality disorder.
it seems
that
incredibly
is like
narcissistic.
comorbid with not following people. Yeah.
I will say
Yeah.
it's actually a huge misunderstanding, and like the most narcissistic person is like the person who follows like 500,000 people.
Yeah.
That's always the worst. Like you see this like massive account follows you. It's like holy crap! Like this guy with 1 million followers just followed me. I wonder who this guy is.
I feel like I
You just
used
go.
to see that more with like boomer MAGA accounts. Like it'd be like, MAGA mom, like, 64, from Columbus, Ohio. And she'd have like 800,000 followers and she'd be following 800,000 people. But I
Yeah.
don't see that as much anymore. Like those people.
I think
they
it's
banned it.
probably
I
good
think-
they got rid of that.
Yeah.
I think what you're referring to there, like I think that was entirely the product of like some sort of a script where you go and you just follow everyone, and if they follow you back, then you stay followed, and if they don't, then you just
Yeah.
Yep.
delete it. And I think they started algorithmically saying like, dude, this is disgusting. You're a freak weasel. Like, fuck off. And so
Yeah.
it just kind of got banned.
Yeah. Some people were taking advantage of it. I do think some of these like boomers who were doing it were sincere though.
A lot of those people also are like, okay, do you remember all those like 2,000 follower, 2,000 following like blue wave accounts and whatever?
Yeah.
And like they all sort of evolved out of like the 2014, 2012, 2015 era of Twitter.
Yeah.
And they just kept rebranding to whatever the new like liberal cause was, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that these are just like under previous ownership or admin, the platform had such enormous lack of oversight, I guess. So you could have like this massive political botnet, and it would just not matter if you were left wing, right? Like it
Mhm.
was basically like a left wing propaganda tool.
Mhm.
And so they would have a left wing bot swarm that would go around and it would just like retweet, do all the engagement boosting, and they didn't even have to care, right? The fact it's like 2,000 follower, 2,000 following. Why is that? It's because there's 2,000 other bots in the botnet and they all just follow each other, right? Like it's that simple, it's that open, it's that transparent. Like
Yeah.
there was no need to attempt to make this stuff look real because nobody cared. Like nobody was going to stop you. Jack Dorsey was not going to ban your bot swarm. So
You could also see back then, that was back when you could see likes, and you could just go through the likes and be like, none of these accounts are real. Like, none of these people are real people. Like,
Yes.
incredibly clear that these are not real people.
It was ubiquitous. And the thing is, though, it wasn't just that it was transparent and obvious. They were simultaneously like, I remember I was the subject among many people of this MIT Media Lab study
Yes.
about like right wing, like not botnets, but these like influencer clusters. And that somehow it was like on the right, these same like level of accounts, because at the time to have like 5,000 followers was like a,
It was a
pretty big deal. That like
we
meant
used to
something.
be very important for having 3,000 followers back in the day. Now it's like, everybody and their mom's got 3,000 followers.
And it was like you've been selected to be a part of this study, and we're looking at the way that the findings of the study after the fact. I found this out after the fact. This was all leading into the 2016 election and the stuff that came out where they were measuring the influence of people like Ricky Vaughn and so on. Was that no, it was the right. It was the right by way of these like Russian influence campaigns that were actually coordinating on their messaging. So it wasn't just that the left-wing version, like the liberal version, was like so brazen and obvious. At the same time, you had these like mainstream institutions like MIT, for example, which of course then gets boosted by the New York Times. And there's like this Harvard disinformation lab, this woman, Joan Donovan. I don't know if you know, do you know who this woman is?
I have no idea who that is.
Go look up a picture of Joan Donovan. Okay.
What could you possibly mean by
just for like
this?
anthropological purposes, okay?
Oh my God.
The beautiful Joan Donovan. Is she wearing a leather jacket in the image you're looking at?
Oh
She's
yeah,
got,
we've
like, a
got some good
cardigan
stuff
on.
going on here.
Yeah, she's one of my favorites. So Joan Donovan would work with people like Travis Brown and Brandy Zadrovny. You know who this person is? And like this Renee DiResta person. All these like disinformation, misinformation people. And they would take these studies and they would point their fingers at Russia and like these right-wing influence campaigns, while simultaneously this stuff was going on, of course, in the foreground for everybody to see that just never got commented on. There was one account though that did end up actually being a Russian like bot farm. It's like Tennessee Star.
I believe fully that they exist somewhere. Like some
Yeah.
of these things have to be based on something real, or else like I fundamentally just don't believe that these people are that creative.
Yeah.
So if they're saying that something happened, it's like something had to give them the idea in the first place. There must be at least one example of it. I do take a little bit of an issue with the idea that like there's just 100 million of these people, or like it was always so bizarre when like you were saying, like you have a bunch of liberals going around and replying during like 2016, 2017 era saying like, oh, this is a Russian bot or something,
Mhm.
right? And it's like they would be saying this to someone that you like know in person.
Yeah.
Like this is like your friend, right?
Yeah.
And then all of their comments are these 2,000 following people responding the same GIF of a black person over and over again, right? And you're just like, one of these is a very much more obviously bot behavior than the other one is. And yet they never clock the repost black reaction GIF guy.
You know, I used to think, okay, like, all right, maybe though, because I used to think, oh, this is like obviously botted, like what that like Brooklyn Dad account or whatever it was, or
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'd forgotten about all these people.
and
man.
like Mueller she wrote, okay,
Oh my God,
these
deep
like
cuts.
meme like live accounts, and they'd have like 1 million followers, and they'd just be like their stats were like obviously boosted. I'm like, this is clearly fake. Parag / Jack Dorsey are obviously putting their thumb on the scale here, but now like I'm like these No Kings rallies or something. I'm like these are like real people. Like I see them in the street. So
I think that's the
don't
only
know.
thing more horrifying than thinking that there's a lot of bots is thinking that these are real people.
That they're
That's
real.
really horrifying.
They're like
Yeah.
at least 90% real. Yeah.
Maybe
And
they're
like,
all boomers
your
though.
aunt
Maybe they're
is-
all like 80.
Your aunt is retweeting Brooklyn Dad Defiant and like sending it around to her like book club group.
The way that I've
Maybe.
seen that they actually kind of test this is looking at the engagement someone gets versus the rate that they gain new followers. It appears that there is some correlation between engagement, like legitimate engagement, and follower growth. So this is like why everybody says that who's that guy? Evan loves Worf. Like this is why everybody says that this guy is like gigabotted, is because he will consistently get like 100 million impressions per week.
Yeah.
And then he will lose followers while doing this somehow. Like the number will go down. Like he will be the most liked person on the entire platform.
I do think some of these guys,
while losing followers.
Some of these guys have managed to shape themselves into like the most hateable person ever, and are just like clearly like hate farm baiting.
Yeah.
I think Evan Loves Worf is like one of these guys who like he easily makes like $5,000 a month off of like just baiting like right-wing Twitter.
I don't think so.
I'm not saying he's doing it on purpose.
No, but I just don't think he's making that much. I think when you factor in the amount that people like Evan are making, you have to remember that like if you get 100 million impressions because you botted 95 million impressions, like you had to pay for them still, right? So it's like you get your Twitter payout, and then 130% of your Twitter payout goes towards paying off your bot swarms.
I just don't think it's botted. I think a lot of these people have like 1 trillion hate followers, and then they get
like
a lot
Will
of quote
Stancil.
tweets.
It's like Stancil perfected
It's like Will
the art of
Stancil.
this. Yeah. I don't know do you guys know actually how the payouts work? This has always been a mystery.
Nobody knows.
Yeah, okay.
The other day I like took a graph of it and I overlaid my payments numbers, and I was like, Claude, what do you think is going on here? And Claude is like, I think you've mislabeled this data somehow. Like, there's just no way this makes sense.
Is it possible? I was wondering if it's maybe it's like this stochastic reward schedule, like a slot machine. And actually the addictive nature of it is precisely that you don't know and can't predict it at all. And it just keeps you like coming back for more. There's something about the randomness of it. And like one week it's like one pay period, it's like really high, and then it goes down to like nothing.
I just don't think this is real when it comes to like Twitter money, because I think I mean, maybe that's the plan. I think the problem with that is that the way YouTube and all these platforms work is like at a certain point you start being able to maybe not make a living, but like it stops being like, oh great, drinks on, you know, Nikita Beer and Elon this month, and it's more like, okay, this is like $4,000. Like if I quit my job, maybe I like go all in on this, right? Like that's the way like 90% of these like new generation influencers, like Logan Paul, all these guys used to just make home videos, right? Like this used to just be called the home videos of America.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty bad for that.
Does Twitter, I mean, how does it compare on an impression by impression basis to YouTube? Like, I actually have no idea.
YouTube pays way more, and YouTube is like way more consistent. And then YouTube also explicitly tells you, YouTube just gives you a ton of analytics that are like very useful for understanding what is actually doing well. So YouTube will literally tell you the exact moment people click off. So you can tell like, it seems that like 30 seconds earlier, you know, Lucas or Sayla said something really cringe. It tells you exactly. You can A/B test like different thumbnails if you really want. We don't really use a lot of this stuff, but YouTube is incredibly good at understanding. I'm a business that serves other businesses that then serve consumers. Yeah, like I'm YouTube. I serve Mr. Beast, and Mr. Beast serves like a million Indian kids. Yeah, and it's very good at being predictable and giving you actionable insights so you can understand, okay, what is actually performing and what is not performing. X doesn't feel like that. The other thing I think that changed on X, and I'm curious if you felt this at some point, it used to be very clear. There was like a very clear bargain. If you get a like, we will show your post to another 100 people. And if you get another like, we will show it to another 100 people. And at a certain point, it will stop getting likes, or after like a day, we automatically deboost it. Yeah. That used to be the bargain. That was like, quote unquote, like capital T, capital D, the deal. And nowadays it's like, there's random posts that will get like one like every 1,000 views, and for whatever reason, the algorithm likes it. And then there's posts that like, I've had posts that have like 1 to 5 like to view ratios. Like 1 of every 5 people who are liking it, who are viewing it, are liking it, which is insanely high. And it just goes nowhere. And it gets like 1,000 views. Yeah, I've noticed this too, and I don't know, but this has been going on for a while. This has been going on for a while, like a year. And I don't know, like I did feel when I was, but again, part of the problem for me is I'm not sure what is an effect from the account getting bigger, and then again, just there being more noise in the system, so the consistency just kind of goes away, versus some kind of algorithmic change. Because I you know, like during COVID, when my account first started growing, I knew almost immediately whether a tweet would take off or not, precisely because of what you said. So if it started getting likes from the initial network that it fed into, I knew then that at some point, you know, like a Mike Cernovich would retweet it or something, and then it would go. And I could like predict that pretty well based on the first 10 minutes. You used to be able to tell within 5 minutes the tweet was going to be a runner or not. Exactly. You could tell in 5-10 minutes. Yep, exactly. Nowadays, randomly 2 hours later, a post will like just take off. And like, you'll be like, damn, I should delete that. That was like unfunny, I suppose. It runs, but it also like the ones that run in a very different way and for different reasons. So, you know, last week or earlier this week, I posted about some like slop quote tweet. Actually, no, you were replying to me about the like meme video of the couple. Okay? I was giving you shit, man. You're not being a patriot. You're betraying us. I tweeted it. I was like, oh god, this is gonna get like 1 million views, but this is so dumb. Like, I almost feel like it's like you know, it's like a little dirty to like
for context.
this beautiful man and this extremely chopped,
Okay,
mid,
look, dude, I like a
woman.
girl who's a little quirked up. We should actually.
This is so
hold
funny.
on. We gotta give the viewers the context, okay? Lomez, there was this couple at like a Pacers game, I think.
Yeah.
And this guy is like talking to this girl.
Yeah.
And halfway through, she goes like, "What the fuck are you saying?"
Yeah.
She's like the most incredulous look on his face. He goes like, "You have a good point. Like you can't really hear what they're saying, but you can immediately tell that she goes, 'What the fuck are you talking about?'"
Yeah.
That's what made this so much funnier too. This whole video, you had to do like you had to read their lips. You see this guy sitting there, and he's like stroking his chin, like thoughtfully explaining this thing to this girl, and the girl's face is like totally blank. And then at some point, she just like she zones in to be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Like extremely aggressively.
But she's not really that angry. It's like it sounds
it's
kind of aggressive.
It's super aggressive. It's not necessarily angry. But then he like responds to it by being like, "That's fair. Like I hadn't considered that criticism, right?" And then he like refines his point.
Or no, it's just like, yeah, that's true. You know, it's like when you do some like effort tweet and somebody comes into the replies and like it's like you're Jewish and you're like, yeah, okay, like that's true. That's true. You got me on that one. But okay, she's beautiful. Okay,
she's beautiful. Okay, we're gonna position of the podcast. Okay, listen, Lomez. I don't know if you didn't get the pamphlet, but if you are a loyal viewer of Plausibly Deniable, you will know that we've discussed multiple times on this episode that the new meta is that we, the men, are going to start doing all the things that women were doing, okay? All this gender cartel, all the sex cartel things that they were doing, where they go and they take their fattest friend and they're like, she's a 10 out of 10. She deserves to date like Brad Pitt. Nothing less is good enough for her, okay? The other thing we're going to do, we're going to start pretending that we're going to start pretending we're really sexually attracted to certain things that we are not sexually attracted to, okay? So women breadwinners with stay-at-home boyfriends, attractive. The hottest, the sexiest thing a woman can do is work a $300K a year job at Meta, okay? Well, I stay at home.
Unflattering loose clothing.
Yes.
Yes.
The hottest thing a woman can do, be very modest, not have an Instagram page. Remember when women kept being like, dude, it's so hot when a guy doesn't have an Instagram.
Bro, that was like the biggest scam of all time. Because like I don't have an Instagram. And girls, whenever, oh my God, you don't have an Instagram. And it's like you instantly realize, like by the way their eyes light up when you say that, it's like, this isn't like the cool thing where it's like they think I'm really hot. It's like they think this is a form of power over me because they realize that like Instagram is like it's like a pussy passport effectively, right?
He's such a free spirit. He doesn't have any. He doesn't have a job. He doesn't wear shoes on the sidewalk.
No. It's worse. It's worse. It's they think that because you don't have an Instagram, you don't have a way to get something better. So like they basically think that you are outside of market forces, right? Like there can be no efficient price discovery on your value as a man because you don't have an Instagram. Little do they know, I have much worse things, which is 100,000 follower Twitter account.
But yeah, it's the exact feeling that like a sweatshop worker must have when like an H-1B immigrant walks into his like hiring office. You know, like, you seem to not have any other opportunities that you can compare this to. Like, this is great. Like, I'm not going to have to compete with anyone. But yeah, we're all doing that now.
Are we trying to like artificially neg this woman? Because I can't abide.
Yeah, that's what we're doing now. You're too old to really understand
there's two options. There's two options, right?
Yeah.
No, there's two options. We can either artificially neg her, or if you can't do that, we can artificially inflate him, right?
Okay.
That's what we're doing.
The goal is these can't be looks match. There can never be any looks match. The guy is always better than the girl. And any way you achieve this is workable, right? You can increase the demand, you can decrease the supply, but you just have to.
I see.
Yeah.
The man's got to be elevated above her. That he's doing her a favor, basically, by being there.
He is.
Always. In every relationship.
Always.
Anytime anyone is married, the man is doing
I mean, that
the woman
is
a favor.
true. That is true in some like fundamental sense. So she can still be beautiful and that still be true. That she only exists in that building, in those seats, and is only having that conversation at his leisure, okay? Because he is affording her that opportunity. That I can believe. That I can go with.
That's basically what we're doing now. That's the new game we're on.
She's a little quirked up, and she's got this like beautiful red hair and a huge mouth. She looks like a cartoon, and she's got a huge forehead, but it's all very like interesting,
Like a
you know?
tastefully huge forehead. It's not
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
it's not too big, right? It's
No, it's
tasteful.
great. It's like lovable. She looks like a little like kind of cartoon stuffed animal toy that you'd have by your bed. Um, you
I will
know,
say they did an interview later, and she's like staring at him the whole time, and you can tell they're deeply in love, and it's very
yeah.
cute and sweet.
Uh-huh.
But I do think she should be very thankful that he's dating her. Is all I'm saying. Okay.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Look, the best it can get for the women is looks matched. Okay, it's
Yeah.
always either the guy is doing her a huge favor,
Yeah.
or stone cold looks match. That's
Okay.
the two. That's the two responses we
Well,
have
they
now.
they
when we
do. I
see a
think
couple.
like my take was sort of that they're basically looks matched, but they also look like a like white sitcom couple from like the 90s. Or it's like
Yeah.
the son of the sitcom family, like the oldest son, it's like he's dating this girl and they look like this nice couple and you can imagine they're like nice suburban future together and they're going to just it's all going to work out for them. It's all going to be
He
nice.
looks kind of like a self-insert, but in
Yeah.
real life.
Yeah.
Like he's
I
this
think that's
very
why everyone likes it.
nondescript, normal-looking guy,
Yeah.
and she is this like quirked up, red hair, like more describable. You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean? Like she has more
When you guys say
semantic
quirked up to
entropy.
describe this girl, it's genuinely kind of confusing to me because when I think of quirked up, I'm thinking of like a totally different thing. Like this woman looks pretty normal, right? When I think quirked up, I'm thinking of like the hipster girls who are like wearing the goofy shit with like the suspenders over their shirts and they have a tie even though they're a woman and they're
Mhm.
just going to high school. Like they don't need to be wearing a tie, right? Like this
Yeah,
is
no, it's a little bit like it's a little Reddit. There's something a little bit Reddit about her, maybe. I can't
girls
quite
are
put
all
my
kind of
finger
Reddit.
on. Huh?
Girls
I don't
have all
think
become
so.
Reddit.
Yeah.
Dude,
Her like her humor, her style of humor seems to me very much like Quirk Chungus Reddit a little bit.
To me, quirked up is like kind of post-ironic, where I
Yeah.
use it to describe someone who is like strange in the 90s
Uh-huh.
and nowadays by like any objective measures like an incredibly normal person.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Like in this 90s sitcom that we're describing, I feel like she's like the new girl at school
Yeah.
that's like a little bubbly and like, do you see what I'm getting at here?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think nowadays she's like incredibly normal, right?
But that's why this guy, again, not to like harp on this couple, but people are like intuiting something about them and they are normal. Like I don't see that guy and hear him talk and immediately slot him into one of these like meme archetypes. He's just, I don't know. He's just a dude. He's just a guy.
I think
He could
if
exist
you
at any
heard what he
time.
was saying, I think if you heard what he was saying and you listened to them long enough, it's like
I
it's
didn't.
probably I just assume that it's not going to be about like whatever the most normal thing is, right? Like
Yeah.
he's talking with like a dedication and interest and passion that like inclines me to believe that he cares about this thing, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Which just means that he's not going to be normal for that long. Like you can't both care about things and remain normal now, I don't think.
I don't know. I don't like what are normal interests. I'm like
He's
I
probably
have
pretty normal, man. He's like literally at like a sports ball event. Like I don't think
yeah.
it gets more normal than that,
That's
dude.
like
Like
my friends. Yeah, go ahead, Zayla.
who is going to a basketball game in the big 2026, man? Maybe I've become too divorced from normal people, but I
I
just
don't know.
don't. I like
My high school friends are all normal. They're like accountants and they sell insurance and they're like lawyers and they grill and they like bet on sports and they like go to the game and they have their 2.5 kids and their lives actually revolve a lot around sports. Like that is the main thing they do is they like play golf and they like bet on sports and like go to sports games.
This
think
might
you're
be
just
that's
a
normal.
describing hell to me. You are
Yeah.
like describing purgatory, man.
I don't know. It doesn't sound that bad to me.
I have two types of college friends at this point, and it's like one are the guys that you kind of described, and the other are the people who are like the reason that I'm still back on the internet now. So I found a bunch of internet people in real life, and then went on the internet. And then I had a bunch of other people that just like it was the people that when I like was in like fitness influencer Lucas era, that group, the rave people, like just all imminently super normal. They all just got married and are now like
Are they online? Is their understanding of the world mediated through like an online experience like ours is?
It is, but it's like they're in a totally different algo bubble such that
Yeah.
it's like they're also in like a weird internet subculture, but like they would never describe it as such because they're in a weird internet subculture of like ostensibly normal things, right? Like their algorithm shows them like a bunch of sports things. They're the ones who like click on like the
Do they do like
Polymarket ads.
marathons and like Ironmans and stuff like that?
I know a couple like that. Those
Yeah.
people though, like anytime people start playing sports, they're more likely to start optimizing down like a weird subculture, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
If you watch it, it's like you can remain eminently normal while just watching sports. But the instant you start actually trying to get good at something, if you're like remotely smart, you're going to become sort of a weird freak.
Yeah. I don't know. I dream about like sometimes like just being a normal guy. And like I feel like sometimes I'm going through a midlife crisis, but it's like inverted where this like weird life I have, I just drop it all and I go get a job at like Edward Jones or something. And I'm like, doing finance, wealth planning or something. And I just play like slow pitch softball on the weekends and, go to the game. I just feel this is a missing experience that I should have. And now is the time to have it. And I should like know what it's like to go to like PF Chang's with my coworkers and like have a, I don't know, like lettuce wrap, like the lettuce wraps thing after work and like kind of flirt with like, the what do they call them? Like your office wife or whatever. And then you like
the work wife,
your work
Lomez,
wife. And you like,
Lucas,
I love
Lucas
my wife.
sees
Okay.
the,
This is like not me like wish casting out of my marriage. I'm just like, these feel
so
like these
funny.
like critical like experiences of being like a modern man. Okay. This is something quintessential about it. And I'm like stuck online. And by the way, there's being online every day just kind of feels shallow sometimes. And you're dealing with like crazy people who are all sorts of mental illnesses all the time. And they're kind of like malicious and deranged.
You know who else has a lot of mental illnesses? HR at any company, bro.
Yeah. So I'm like, maybe I should go to like I go to PF Chang's and I'm like, oh man, look at them. Like they all look so actually no, they look like they're on like a kind of opioid or something. Like they do look a little doled out, I have to say. But at the same time, I don't know. Maybe I'd get tired of it after like 6 months, but I want to do it for like I want like a fantasy camp, like normie fantasy camp. Or like the deep immersive experience. I can get it all like 1 year. I take a year off and like I get a job doing the office gig. And I'm like, I don't know, in some mid-sized Midwestern city or something, like some third tier city. I like Cincinnati. I like moved to Cincinnati and I get like a job as like a CPA. I don't know. That's like basically a normie job. I just want to know, what is that life experience like?
It's so funny to me that you clearly just like log into Twitter, you see the like millennial office girls, like, like secret presentation and a sneaky link, like,
yeah,
like 4'2" in a skirt. And you're just like, God, man, imagine how amazing life could be. And then it's every single other person is like, oh my God, look at the hells of modern work, bro.
Well, no,
do they hate it?
It's
Have
the
you
very
ever seen that meme
girl
of
boss
the
marketing.
fish
Like it's the
jumping
girl boss
out?
marketing that they're trying to go to get the girls to come in and do the email jobs, but it stopped working on the girls. Now it only works on Lomez. Like,
well, isn't the point of the okay? My theory has always been that these companies understand that these women do nothing. Their job is to be there to service the fantasies of the like highly active, agentic male employees that would otherwise feel like they're in this.
You actually have the most backwards worldview I have ever encountered. Maybe every single highly agentic man at a company like that generally hates all of the women like that.
Revealed
And
preferences. Okay.
no, so the way it works is generally, and this is completely alien to you because you work at
Yeah.
a company that is like great company, by the way,
Thank
kind
you.
of a sponsor of the podcast, Passage.press Publishing, amazing, great people. You should check out their books. But a company that has an actual budget. But what happens when you work at one of these mega corporations is you're like part of a product team inside of an area that maybe doesn't even generate revenue, and
Mhm.
so all the incentives are like completely destroyed, and you're extremely far away from any sort of like P&L that you generate for the company. And so the way it works generally is that managers hire people based on the idea that if I hire and manage more people, that gives me individually more power inside of
Yeah.
the company.
Yep.
And so you want to hire more people because you hire more people and then you now manage more people, and that means you can justify a bigger title, a bigger raise, a bigger bonus at the end of the year, etc. And so it's all make work, and like there's multiple levels of this make work. Like there's the girl in the video that's make work. There's the person that manages that girl that also doesn't have a real job because
Yeah.
they just manage like fake people. And then
Yeah.
at a certain scale, there are like real people somewhere in the org. But also, a lot of these companies are just like effectively monopolies, right? Like Google just has a monopoly
Yeah.
on search. Like they're gonna make money no matter what. And so it's just like, okay, does Sundar feel like adding 10,000 fake email jobs this week or no? You know?
What is?
And
Yeah, I guess I don't understand it. I just don't understand what the It sounds like there's some really severe like principal agent problems there that like distort all of these kinds of decision making.
yes.
And when you're inside of it, that must be just infuriating
To
because
the
it's so
highly agentic
inefficient.
male, it
Yeah.
feels exactly the opposite of how you described it
Yeah.
previously, which
Yeah.
is like, wow, this girl is here to cater to my fantasy.
Yeah.
It's more
But-
like this girl is
Yeah.
here to impose a series of like meaningless meetings upon me and make work while I like
Yeah.
desperately try to keep my department, which is the only one that actually makes any money, afloat.
Okay.
Well, and
I
also the
think-
other thing is
Yeah.
none of these people know. Like none of these people know where the actual revenue comes from. So
Uh-huh.
it's like you might be one of these people that is the actual revenue generators, and you might not be. But the girls all kind of treat everyone else the same because they don't know where the money's coming from. Nobody knows
Yeah.
where it's coming from, right?
Okay, in this fantasy though, I'm realizing in this fantasy, I am not an agentic male. I'm just there to like
Right.
get a
If you're
paycheck.
just there, it's probably great.
That's what
if you're
happens.
just there, it's great.
And I
Because
don't
they
give
give
a
you something
shit.
to
No,
actually do.
I don't give a shit about the company. I don't care who's producing revenue. I don't care about my job. I'm like there. Because I want to like, I get in my car in the morning and I like put on the Rufo and Lopez podcast and like drive into work. And I go to, I don't know, like
You go to
like
your
Veggie
office in your
Greens
tier
for
2
lunch.
city
Yeah,
in
and then I'm like
America.
I'm around these women, and I have these like my like hydration packets that I pour in my water, that I drink 2 times a day, and I'm like waiting around, and I'm sitting there. What I care about is like how I'm spreading my bets out for the games that night, and I just sit there
On
and I'm like reading.
polymarket.com.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Look,
Listen,
I think
give me 6 months.
I think
Lomez.
there's a certain type of
Sundar,
person who is
hire
like
me. Nikita,
there is a
hire me.
certain
Let me
type of
come work
person
for you.
that's cattle
Yeah.
enough
Yeah.
to like enjoy this life.
Yeah.
I just don't actually think you're that person.
No, you're both okay. Do you remember Scott Adams, right? You
Yeah,
remember the
of
comic
course.
strip? You
Love
remember
Scott
the comic
Adams.
strip that he
R.I.P.
wrote,
Scott Adams.
Dilbert,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Dilbert is actually just a 100% accurate depiction of engineering office life. Like it's actually the joke is just that it's like this is the most accurate form of media that's ever been produced, right? And the other thing is like so the running joke in Dilbert is that there's like the intern, a shock or whatever, I don't know. And then there's Dilbert who's like a little older and then there's Wally, right? And what happens is a shock becomes Dilbert who becomes Wally. A shock is like this idealistic, like he's always excited for everything. Like, oh my God, it's a new day, time to learn. Dilbert is like a little more jaded, but he's still competent. He's like, I'm gonna right this ship. Like I can fix this if I really try. And then Wally he's just given up. Wally cares about nothing other than like fucking the entire system up. He's going to do the bare minimum required to collect the paycheck, and he thinks it's funny that anyone else in the company cares, and he like fucks with them knowing this, right? And that's just what that's just what happens to you. So if you maintain your office job for long enough, I think you just become Wally. There's like these idealistic people that are just like completely devoid of understanding of why anyone around them is doing anything.
Yeah.
And that's like the guy that I mentioned who he's like a wizard who he's the only one who knows how to like fix the entire inventorying system. The guy who knows the surface finishes. But these people are just off in their own land where like their greatest joy all day is to like come up with some new like principled research that will give them information about the universe. And
yeah, the other part of this too is for this to work, for it to be tolerable in this like window of time, you're adopting normiedom, or even like in your situation, Lucas, I imagine that experience, all the anxiety would be gone, and you would actually maybe be able even to enjoy yourself a little better if you knew that there was just an escape hatch, and anytime you wanted to press the button and leave, you could just leave and find like some other more interesting life.
yes,
It's the fear, I think, that this is all there is and there's nowhere to go, that I am just stuck because I have a mortgage, because, you know, I got to pay for my kids' private school, or they're, you know, I'm saving up for their college, because my entire social life is just embedded in this, because whatever like modest talent in whatever domain I think I might have once had, I stopped cultivating that talent. So there's no possibility for me to go back and be like, I don't know,
I just
like
think
cinematographer or something. Like you've all of the other opportunities you had for yourself have atrophied somehow. They're just gone. They're dead. Those are cul-de-sacs. And then this is it.
all right, guys, we are going to cut it there. If you made it through, congratulations. Thanks for sticking with us. Remember, you have a spiritual obligation to subscribe. We actually recorded another like 3 hours past this, but it was getting kind of late at night and everything just became extremely confusing, honestly. So, good night, Godspeed, and thanks again.